A good evening, everybody out there in the EMEA area and from further afield. If you decided to tune in to watch the broadcast today, welcome to the second day of Contenders Trials. I'm Big Hungry Phil, and with me is Nauri. Nauri, we're going to be seeing Shoes Money Crew up against Avoided first. In your opinion, what have we got to look forward to here?
Pretty big game, I must say. I think this is probably one of the more exciting ones, barring, of course, the second game of the evening, which would be Angry Titans versus Sheer Cold. But before I get ahead of myself, these two teams... Wow, so Avoided has these players that have been around the block for quite some time, and if you remember their original iteration, they came out saying, we are the players that get most avoided on the ranked ladder. And of course, that was a lot of fun memes at the time, but now they've really taken themselves quite seriously. I think that they're really shaping up to be an incredible team. They still have Mini-Me there on the docket, and had a couple of roster changes recently. They've picked up a Genji player in Ken. I'm Special is also new, and of course, they still have the tried and tested Lightbringer, Tractor Kid, or Ball as he was once known, and Hampe and Yezen. So really well-rounded roster here for these guys. Curious to see how they're going to perform with their recent swap-ups.
So, I mean, we did get to see them play yesterday. They played against the Ultimates, where they came away with a 3-1 victory, so not the cleanest of victories, but, you know... We see this time and time again. This is the Clockwork Vendetta effect. It's the OT Pog effect. It's the No You OTP effect. But these teams with these interesting, highly specialized players, they take a long time, people, to get to grips with. But Shoes Money Crew have been playing Avoided for quite a while now. You know, Avoided and Shoes Money Crew met in Contenders. They've been, they scrimmed together as well. So Shoes Money Crew should have the answers here. And for Shoes Money Crew, we're kind of expecting them to come out with like the meta composition here and run well. This can pick Avoided apart.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's kind of the strength of the meta composition. That's why it becomes the meta composition by definition. It's meant to be the most powerful composition that can be run in the game at any given time. So absolutely, if run correctly, I think SMC are set to really put a dent in Avoided's defenses here, or I suppose offense, depending on who gets first control of the point here, as we are getting straight in onto Ilios well. And love this map, love the boop potential, and of course we got a Pharah out for some great boops here, but that's about it. And I suppose the Wrecking Ball, we're not going massive boops here this time, Phil. It looks like they're just gonna try and win the game the old-fashioned way.
Well, you know, for Avoided, this is their bread and butter. This is pretty much what they were always going to be running. Shoes Money Crew are coming out with the interesting picks here, but they've been a little bit slow off the mark. Yezen's able to get Kumba out of it, and I can't see him at the minute, but Yezen just seems to be uncontested at the minute, pouring in the damage, and Tractor Kid at this point is just making life difficult for Shoes Money Crew. He's making space, he's causing trouble, and he's going to see the first flip go over to Avoid, and that was pretty one-sided now.
I love the crossfire that we're seeing here. You know, you've got Yezen right in the back line.
Oh no!
Tractor Kid goes down. You know what? Don't
like
pick
a rat in a cage. No, absolutely not.
Not if you're a ball, right? I mean, that shield, that whip shot, you're going to have some trouble.
Ooh! I mean, that was a great exchange. Ken did a huge amount of damage, but couldn't avoid the sticky bombs coming through. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and it's always going to be defensively favored on this map.
And that is definitely in Avoided's favor, as they are currently defending here. Although if OT Sorcerer goes down the drink, that's a good trade, Phil.
Yeah, good adaptation by Fees as well, coming in on the Tracer, opens things up, and now both supports are out of the picture for Avoided. And it's Shoes Money Crew's turn to get some paint on the canvas. We're seeing the Graviton Surge thrown in here. It seems like Avoided are just trying to stall this out and get as much progress as they can.
And I think that's something that Avoided have always been really good at, just stalling out that clock for as long as possible. But SMC have taken control of the point here, so not going to be a massive issue.
Now that's a pretty weird exchange. There a lot of Anna in the kill feed. You're going to see them dropping that load from the Wrecking Ball and stuffing up the recon test from the left-hand side, but answering one also there on the right from Hades, stops the recon test coming through from Avoided. And this is a really weird exchange, but Avoided now, they've got ults ready to go for this next fight.
Incredibly messy fight, but as you said, it's really about building up those ultimates, getting ready for the next engage. We've got the replication ready for Bijou. A10 has yet another grab ready to go there. But they're going to have to contend with a barrage and a nano blade from Avoided. That could be very dangerous if not dealt with correctly.
I guess the good thing here for Choose Money Crew is a lot of them can get out of the way of the incoming damage. That's a beautiful defensive grab. Locks Ken up. 1 ult traded for 2 there and beautifully played by Choose Money Crew. They're not out of this just yet. Biju's going to pick up the duplicate onto the Pharah and go toe-to-toe with the real Pharah here. Won't have his own Mercy pocket, but right after having that barrage, won't get it. Gets knocked out of the duplicate. And Choose Money Crew kept control of the point all the way through that.
And that's the thing that makes the Echo so difficult. You have to be an exceptionally versatile player. So replicating the Pharah doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the same kind of value, and he does lose out in that exchange. But it seems like we may have a back cap attempt going on here.
I think it was a bold attempt, but ultimately a hiding to nothing. And Yesen is now holding on to this barrage and has been doing so for a little while here. Desperately trying to track down Biju, secures the equalizer, pulls the cord on the barrage. He's going to find a 10. Will get slept out of that, but might now have done the damage, pulled the leg out from under Choose Money Crew, and they fall to their side, allowing Avoided to swoop back in and retake control of the points.
That was a lot of ultimates used from both sides, in fact. And now they're not going to have too much coming into this next one. I'm special, very close to another Graviton Surge. Hopefully this next one will get a little bit more value than the first one he threw out earlier on. Hampe actually very close to another nano boost. So that could really help in keeping someone alive or possibly helping to build up an ultimate. But if Ken can continue to pop off on this Genji, they should have that for a combo fairly soon. This is potentially last fight territory, though, because if SMC win a fight, they will win the round.
It's been a very slow ingress in by Choose Money Crew. They wanted to take this into last fight territory where they can come in with some sort of ult advantage. Tractor Kid's going to drop the minefield. Yesen's able to get the double here. And the cap has not yet come through for Choose Money Crew. And it's Yesen on the high ground, raining in rocket after rocket, desperately trying to track down Biju for the pick. Biju, however, is going to get one through onto Hampe and take them down. Still a little bit scrappy here, but Avoided in control. If they can round out a couple more picks here, they will get this. Choose Money Crew not out of the fight just yet. We'll see people come back in to get the recontest, but now it's just Tractor Kid and Hampe now on the Lucio, trying to keep this moving for that little while longer. Still in this fight somehow, Nari.
Yeah, Sab swapping over onto the Lucio as well, but not able to get back onto point for that recontest. A nice, definitely not clean, quite a scrappy fight there, but Avoided do take it in the end there. And I must say, the way that these two compositions clash into each other, it really is, you've got about 2 or 3 fights happening in various different places on the map, and it can be quite difficult to follow. And I think that that's really working into Avoided's favor, because as you said, this is kind of the composition that they run. It's what they're used to, getting teams out of their comfort zone, forcing them to play in strange and wonderful positions. And ultimately, that's how Avoided were able to win out that first map, but it's not over yet. So we move over onto our second map. It is Lighthouse. Well, it's much the same that we're seeing from both of these teams. Unsurprising, I suppose. Let's see if he's... I was hoping he'd stick on the sim, because it can work on this point, but I suppose the Tracer gives a little bit more utility.
It does. It allows you to get in and around some more static threats and maybe get a backline assassination. The thing I don't like here is they've not got anything to deal with Yesen, and Yesen was a large part of the problem for Choose Money Crew in the last round. Having said that, Sam got a couple of nice shots in there, so maybe more of a threat than you typically give an old lady credit for here. But Yesen unafraid to get up close and personal with the enemy team and piloting those rockets at point-blank range. Will momentarily lose T-Sorcerer as he goes to try and keep Ken alive. 1-for-1 trade, Tractor Kid down, and this is starting to snowball towards an advantage for Choose Money Crew here. Avoided, going to be looking for the repeat here. Retreat here, even.
Oh, good sleep there onto A10. Thankfully, his team is there to try and keep him up. This is going for a hard re-engage from the 2 tanks here. They're not wasting any time, Phil.
That was great body blocking there from A10 as well. We'll see Ken get a pick, but it's at the back end of the fight, and it's really just that little bit of ult charge, not anything major.
I was quite surprised to see them aggress so strongly after losing most of their team, but yeah, a little bit extra ult charge. You don't want to turn your nose up at that, and they do need it. Ken very close to a blade, and Hampe close to that nano boost as well, but they're going to be contending with, well, there's the nano boost.
The nano boost early out onto Biju makes the assassination threat from the Echo that little bit more fearful. But Nothing happening with it. Bijou kind of wasted that opportunity, spent too long in the line of fire of Yezen, and dealt with him. We're going to see the rally come out here from Kumba, but with a 2-man deficit here for Shoes Money Crew, and with the Graviton Surge locking them all in place, that's got to be the flip there, but not a terrible amount of capture percentage gained here for Shoes Money Crew.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a clean and somewhat economic fight for Avoided, having only used the Graviton Surge. That means they still have 5 ultimates available for this next fight. Shoes Money Crew, a little bit of the back foot in terms of economy. They used the rally as well as the nano boost there, so not great, no support ultimates, but they do still have the 2 tank ultis. If they can combo this well, maybe they can get back in.
Hello, Glowing Ninja on the high ground, brings out the sword.
Oh, the grab.
By the grab, second time that's happened to Ken. Now he's going to have to retreat as we see Shoes Money Crew start to press the advantage. I'm Special's going to go down here. We're looking at a cheeky res here, but I believe they got whip-shotted out of the way. Yezen with a Hail Mary barrage from right the way back. Now going to get to point and look to get the reflip here. But finally, Bijou starts to do some lifting here for the team. Still hasn't generated this ultimate, but it's now getting close to last fight territory for Shoes Money Crew.
And A10 really showing his prowess and why he's been a part of the scene for so long. These grabs have been fantastic. He's been beaming Yezen out of the sky, always having great charge, able to really help his team with bubbles, doing a stellar performance for the rest of the team here.
Did hear the pulse bomb come out just a little ways there in the back, but didn't find too much. Instead, it's going to be Yezen that opens things up here, dealing with Bijou, but they've got to be quick to get the cap here because Bijou will be back relatively quickly, and I don't think I've ever seen a Wrecking Ball give quite so much chase onto a Pharah, and it won't connect with too much there, allowing Avoided to get the flip, but it's 99-24 in favor of Shoes Money Crew.
Shoes Money Crew doing well to just pull back there, not take a fight they don't need to. Ken having swapped over onto the McCree here, already 50% to the High Noon. And we'll see if he... It's more for zoning than anything else, this ultimate. It can get a few picks, but you really do want to just force the enemy team into a weird position. And let's see if he can get the value that he needs out of that. Replicate and Nano Boost ready for SMC. Last fight territory, potentially.
Hades with the jump up onto the high ground with the power driver. Does a little bit of splash damage, looking for the run through, and Ken gets beamed down by the finishing beam. We're going to see Bijou pick up the Ana here, likely to get a fairly quick nano boost, but there's nobody really there to use it. Like, by the time because he didn't pick up like a big, powerful DPS or tank ultimate, he couldn't get the kills, and Avoided still have the control.
That may have been a mistake. He might have been aiming for the Zarya and wound up on the Ana instead, which is super unfortunate because that's a replication out of the bag here, and SMC just could not afford to waste that ultimate. Coming into this next fight, they're going to need to contend with I'm Special's Graviton Surge. There's going to be a Valkyrie as well for that extra healing, and of course, Tractor Kid can just drop those mines on point and deny space. They're going to have to really throw some ultimates in here if they want to win this fight.
Oh, no. I was looking at that Pulse Bomb Graviton combo as a way for Shoes Money Crew to open this up. They won't have the follow-through, and they only catch I'm Special, who had the protective barrier there to keep himself alive through that. Shoes Money Crew, they may just have thrown this away here. Hades low on the point, drops the minefield, hoping to buy some time here to keep them in this fight that little bit longer. Tractor Kid now focused down, and there's no point presence for Avoided. Shoes Money Crew, they're going to manage the flip here, and Avoided, they need to get on and keep this going. We've seen the Nano Boost go onto I'm Special, but there's no one there to touch, and at the last second, Shoes Money Crew just yoinked that point away from Avoided.
Avoided really looked like they'd actually won out that fight somewhat cleanly, but I suppose the trades went back and forth on both sides, and it just so happened A10 was still alive on Shoes Money Crew, and he and Hades were able to get onto point there, or rather not Hades, he and Kumba were able to get onto point and get that flip over, and it worked out fairly well for them. As you said, they managed to yoink it towards the end. No one from Avoided able to actually touch that point, and it's so sad because there were 3 or 4 of Avoided grouped up right next to the point, but they just weren't able to get there on time to get the flip over. Once again, we're going to be seeing Fees just to teleport straight out of spawn. Nothing has changed here, folks. We were kind of hoping for a Widowmaker to come out, and given that it is runes, it would have made sense, but no, we're going to maintain the same composition that we've seen all along. It has been working fairly well for both of these teams. Let's see if it continues on that trend.
There's an adage now that dates back to the days of Clockwork Vendetta, which is that they're very good at making you play their game and dragging you down to their level, and that is what we are seeing Avoided continue to do. They neutralize the DPS here. They pull out the fangs from Shu's Money Crew, and that's going to be the early flip. SMC not in this fight in a major way right now.
It's not looking great. Yeah, I think the Echo Pharah matchup is what, obviously that's the massive difference here. Of course, the Mercy in place of the Brigitte as well. There's some big differences.
Fees Fire Magitate isn't out of the fight, but T-Sorcerer brings them straight back in again. And Shu's Mini Crew spent so much time bottled up in that left-hand room that they've given over a lot of ult charge here just by being easy targets now.
Yeah, if you bottle up in a room and you know that the enemy team has spam damage a la Pharah, you're going to be giving up tons of ult charge. You're going to be giving up your life, effectively.
That was a nice displace there onto Tractikin, who takes a ridiculous amount of damage on the way through. Will pick up that health back. Pulse Bomb comes through. There's a quick double on board for the Shu Money Crew guys. Quick punch back now from Avoided. A10 with a whole wealth of charge here, trying to beam down Tractikin. Now looking to go toe-to-toe with the enemy barrage. Survives almost all the way through it, but that last vestige of a rocket takes A10 down, and Avoided hit the 50% mark.
High charge Zarya, add the nano boost on top of that. Unfortunately, the nano boost had ended just before the barrage came through, wasn't able to survive through it. And SMC have still not shown up on this point at all. Looking a lot more like a bit of a stomperoo from Avoided than what we'd seen on the last two maps. And Fees going down so early on the re-engage does not bode well for SMC.
Yeah, we've seen this kind of approach to dealing with Avoided before, but what Shu's Mini Crew have failed to realize is that really the big problem here is going to be Yezen. This isn't a bad way to deal with him. You lock him up into the Gravitic Surge and you take him out of the fight. And now we've got the rally and we've got the minefield. A large part of that point is going to be given over to Shu's Mini Crew to find some space. Power Drive is going to come through. Did see T-Sorcerer looking for the res there, won't manage to get it. They've not given it the point just yet. They don't mind taking this to 99-0 and flipping it over because they've got all the time in the world to get the recap sorted.
Yezen already back from spawn, creating quite a bit of a kerfuffle there. I loved seeing that. We actually saw Hades get wrapped in a Graviton Surge, but A10 was so high charge, he was able to negate all the damage by just killing the two people that were attacking Hades. It was a really great defense there, offensive defense, I suppose, but let's see if they can keep up a good defense here, because all they really have to work with is the Pulse Bomb, and they're running into a rally.
Yeah, rally to round things out here from Hampe. Yezen still on the high ground, rapidly closing in on the barrage, lands the direct rocket, and now we're going to see Biju pick up the brick here. Very quickly we'll get the rally on board, but it's not going to survive through yet another barrage from Yezen. Only able to get one here, takes Kuma out of the fight, and Biju will get the rally on board, but it's not been enough here because Shu's Money Crew are falling by the wayside as Avoided run them over on their way to retake the point. There's the flip. Overtime ticking down, and I'm Special just nukes Fees. And we're seeing a last couple second contest here coming through from SMC, but that's got to be it. That's got to be the last couple of tag backs in. Yeah, there we go. 80's down. That's math. Call it there. Time of death, whatever the time is now, 99-40 on the final round of Ilios 1-0 to avoid it to start out the series.
So you got to start to think. Now, it's clear that Yezen was a very big part of what gave SMC so much trouble. Avoided do so well at creating the crossfire between Yezen and Ken. Whether Ken is on Genji or Tracer, it doesn't really matter. They're creating a phenomenal crossfire. And so you need to kind of deal with that at some point. So Avoided doing really well there to win out this round. And I think at this point, they really do need to start focusing on Yezen a little bit stronger. You kind of talk about how we might see the Widow come out, and instead they opted for the Echo, trying to take the Sky Battle to Yezen, but ultimately always coming off on the back foot. There's a tried and tested method of dealing with Pharah, which is just ignore her and hope she goes away until the end of the fight. But when you have an aggressive Pharah as powerful as Yezen, that strat just doesn't work out as well as you would like. So I'd like to see a little bit more resources going into Yezen, and hopefully SMC will be able to turn it around, maybe make this into a series.
You know, Nari, I've been actively ignoring Farah for 4 years now on Overwatch, and she's still in the game. She hasn't gone anywhere. Like, as much as I'd like her to, she's still in this one. And this,
Oh.
you know, I brought this up mid-game, and you've touched on it there. Like, for so much of this, like, Yesen just gets a ridiculous amount of value. And I agree with you that I don't think the Echo is the way to deal with this. I know that Shoes Money Crew have a very good hit scan player in Feed, and we've not seen him really try and take that fight. He's been on the Tracer for most of this round, and I kind of think that's a faulty game plan from Shoes Money Crew.
I mean, you have to factor in the fact that, of course, Yesen has the Mercy Pocket, whereas Echo, not really getting that same kind of pocket, same kind of help there. Yes, you've got the Anna that can snipe in the sky, and Brigitte's pack, you know, throw it up in the air. I don't know how the physics works, but there you have it. But it's not quite the same as having the Mercy Pocket being on you at all times, not only to heal, but also to damage boost, which gives so much extra value to Yesen. But if you have a Widowmaker or a McCree or something that can just pop Farah out of the sky, well then a Pocket's not going to help much. Mercy can't heal through a Widow headshot.
No, not without some serious buffs, which we're not likely to get anytime soon. And what makes this even more egregious for me was that last map was Ilios Ruins with the longest open, uncontested sightlines in arguably the entirety of Overwatch. Maybe Havana A or Havana C might rival it, but like it's informally known among casters as Widow's Playground. Like, why would you not run the Widowmaker there into a Farah?
Yeah, it's a bit of a thonker, I'm not gonna lie, but hopefully, but we'll see if they learn from that. You know, we are coming into Volskaya here, and I do believe you mentioned Fees possibly on the Ashe. And I know that Ashe does get a ton of playtime on Volskaya, that you can just get so much value out of her dynamites. If you can get nice big ones, get some serious AoE damage, build up that bob quickly, maybe this is where they swap it out. We didn't see the ruins until it was already like overtime, and I'm not sure what he was hoping to accomplish with that in overtime, but maybe that was kind of the start of the turning point where they start to realize, all right, we need to actually attempt this whole hit scan malarkey, and you know, maybe it works out.
I can tell you exactly what that was now. That was BG going, okay, it's late in the game. I'm going to try and put on my carry backpack and put my team in it. Unfortunately, it was so late into the game, we didn't have a chance to realize that there was a great big hole in the bottom of the carry backpack. Unfortunately, the team fell through that, and the map did go the way of avoided. And as you say, we're moving on to Volskaya next, which is going to be our assault map for this evening. In fact, for all the games this evening, which is the way the map set is determined. There's no winner picks, loser picks in Contenders trials. And I do wonder if we're maybe going to see Shoes Money Crew return a little bit more to form with that double shield Genji poker comp we've been seeing so much of.
Oh, very likely, particularly on the defense. The double shield can work exceptionally well, but the utilization of crossfire also works very well on Volskaya on defense because of the two different high grounds, and you can really start to corral teams into really weird and wonderful positions. It makes it a little bit more difficult on the offense because you're kind of limited in your rotations. You can go left side through that through the room there and all the way up, wrapping around up onto the high ground, which generally gets caught out very early on, or you can go the right side also up onto the high ground with a little bit more cover, but also gets caught out very early on. The most quote-unquote surprising rotation would maybe be the Symmetra TP, but that also gets caught out because as soon as you see the team not pushing through choke, you got to realize, well, it's probably a Symmetra teleporter. So it makes it very difficult to attack, and that's what makes this map so weird and wonderful to play. But I think that if you can push through fairly quickly, I mean, given the compositions we're seeing here, we're not going for that double shield on attack or defense, and I think it works quite well on the attack. You really want to just barrel through as quickly as possible. Of course, it is avoided on the offense, so they wouldn't run the double shield, would they?
No, probably not. You see Yesen out the door with a concussive blast. Nice line there onto the defensive setup. And Shoes Money Crew running the same comp, which is starting to smell to me a little bit like something that worked quite well in scrims, and they're hoping they can find some continued value from. And speaking of continued value, the sleep, the stun. pretty good there. A lot of ult farmed off of Tractor Kid. Doesn't quite get out, but Hanbei comes in with the equalizer. Biju is now out of the fight, and Yesen's in a great position here to spam into this hold by the Mega Health Pack. There's no real shields there to mitigate that damage, and he can just start to whittle people down. Sends Ken, who's been very flexible here, in to try and get a pick, but that's Tracer for Tracer, and one cap gained already for Avoided. Res through onto Ken, and Avoided look like they're going to be steaming in on this one, Nauri.
Avoided managing to push SMC into that tiny little hole, and as you said, no shields to try and defend. They have to play around Mega, but Mega isn't going to help you that much. A10 somehow still alive here?
Man, this is, how did Yesen survive that? How did Yesen come out of that with 2 health and still get back into the fight ready to go? And this again just feels like stall tactics from Shoes Money Crew. They're not really in this fight. They're just trying to burn time of the clock, but it's nearly 6 minutes coming into point B for Avoided.
Yeah, didn't burn that much time off, and the scariest part of this, of course, is that Avoided are coming into this next fight with quite a few ultimates, including that barrage, and we have seen that it is quite devastating to come up against.
And Jensen's got to be keeping an eye on these projected barrels as well. He's just seen the personal one go down. We've got at least one target. Nice spread on the minefield there, but Bijou with the focusing beam takes Jensen of the fight. He's going to get pressured away here, and we might see the res come through, but probably don't want to commit that here. We've already lost Tractor Kid, and Avoided not going to be winning through on this push, and they did use 2 ults in that fight.
Yeah, very solid hold from SMC there. A little bit messy, I must say, but they do manage to hold out. And as you say, drew a couple of ultimates out, which is good for their own ult economy because they're finally getting up to about 5 ultimates here of their own. And that's really going to bode them well in this next fight if they can utilize them properly. They still, however, need to contend with the rocket barrage and a pulse bomb. That is a lot of damage.
Oh, there's the nano boost. Barrage out, Kumba down. Yesen taking a ridiculous amount of damage on the way through that, but 2 kills. Already picked up a 3rd for Avoided. But Shoes Money Crew are punching back. Biju comes alive with the focusing beam, takes the Sorcerer out of it. Minefield out from Hades as well is going to make it nigh on impossible for Tractor Kid to get out. But can a Tractor Kid between them started to do a little bit to turn this around, but couldn't quite help his team find that 1/3 tick.
It really looked like Avoided might win that one out, but spawn advantage is in the hands of Shoes Money Crew, and they do manage to push the forces back. However, still a couple of ultimates on here. I'm Special does have the Graviton Surge ready to go. The barrage was used in that last fight. Didn't even manage to get a tick, though, which isn't great. And, of course, time slowly burning off the clock here. Shoes Money Crew going to have a few ultimates to play with. Looking reasonably good for this next hold.
There's a potential high-tech combo here with the Minefield and the Graviton Surge, where you can drag a few people through the mines, but it's kind of hard to pull off. Expect Tractor Kid just to use... Oh, okay, well, we might be getting that. In fact, just laid in over the top of the Grav, and Tractor Kid with the double. Yesen's going to get A10 as well, and Biju with a hope and a prayer and a duplicate onto the Zarya that they get immediately melted out of, and now Avoided. They're on the point in a much more meaningful way here, Nauri. They've got their claws sunk deep into it, and Shoes Money Crew are going to have to push and pull to unlodge the big cat Avoided from the points.
2 big ultimates. It was just a zoning barrage, and it did its job.
Yeah, Biju down. Biju with just like another second burn off the clock there, but that's it. I mean, coming into this, they had nearly 6 minutes on the clock for Shoes Money Crew to knock 3 minutes off of defense. Is still pretty good going.
I think what ultimately, I mean, that the start of that fight there, we had the grab from I'm Special, and then we had the Wrecking Ball mines on top of that, and just all that damage plowing into it. I think it caught about 3 people, and that was a very solid fight win off the back of that. I mean, when you can get 3 people into a Graviton Surge, if you lose that fight, you've definitely done something wrong, and Avoided did everything right. Shoes Money Crew really struggled to turn that fight around. They didn't have the ult economy to back up their defense. And yeah, they just kind of lost out in the last couple of minutes there. So a 3-minute time bank and not looking too great. I'm curious to see what SMC are going to throw at us for offense. It's more of the same. All right, guys.
I just want to see them defang Yesen. Like, Yesen he's by no means the only part of this for Avoided, but he's doing the entry damage that allows people to get the follow-up frags. Like, not a lot of the damage is meaningful for kills, but it's a large part of why this works for Avoided. And the fact that they're not dealing with him is crazy to me.
I even Ken on the Tracer, yes, Ken is being very annoying in the backline and getting a lot of value, getting those, getting targets very low, and then Yezen gets the follow-up. But despite how well he's doing, Yezen is still the big one. Yezen is still the big problem. Now, what does interest me, and I kind of hope that we are going to run with it, is that Bijou is now on the Genji. So we've got a Genji Tracer vibe happening here, and I think you can get a ton of value out of that, particularly if Sab can get a nice big nano boost and can rival some of the blades we saw earlier on Well from Ken. So hopefully they can use that to maybe drive a wedge into Avoided's defense and then abuse that little bit of just poke at that wedge, poke at the hole until it becomes wide enough for them to capture that first point. They're going to need a very big time bank because, of course, once they move over onto second point, spawn advantage is in favor of Avoided, and Avoided will, of course, be using that to maximum efficiency. So you want to get as big of a time bank as possible on this first point. If you can win it out in the very first fight, then hell yeah, that's pretty much the goal here. Apart from the Genji, nothing's really changed from the composition, so we might just see more of the same, just butting heads against each other and seeing who can, war of attrition, who can come out on the other side. But let's see if they can bring the heat that I'm hoping for and make that wedge.
And one of the things that I'm kind of disappointed to see here from Shoes Money Crew is they are still in spawn, making adaptation to run Bijou on the Genji here. One of the big reasons Genji's finding so much value is that it's so easy to combo your Swift Strike with a Halt. And with that off the table, like, your mechanism for getting that ultimate on board and ready to go is a lot harder to do. Like, he's going to be looking to try and, I guess, maybe try and combo Pile Driver with a Swift Strike. It's much harder to do. People tend to get much more spread out. So, I don't know. Like, if this does come out from Bijou, I feel like it's really not the answer.
You talk about much more spread out. I mean, we're looking at Avoided here. They are, just in a general sense, teams are spread out. Avoided is always spread out. Their entire tactic is about divide and conquer, and it does work. So if that's kind of the idea that SMC is going for, then you're absolutely right. I don't think it's quite going to work out the way that they're hoping. Sorry, guys, we've got a couple of technical issues from the players here. So you're going to have to look at our pretty faces.
Something like that, Mary. What do you want English again?
Shh, it's not like I do this for a living, Phil. Teaching, I mean.
Yeah,
definitely not.
English as a foreign language is actually much less exacting than English as your first language because, you learn fewer words. So yeah, unfortunately, guys, a couple of tech issues here. Looks like we keep losing Yezen here, which unfortunately has been a little bit of an issue with these across region teams, particularly EU and Middle Eastern teams.
All right, SMC fans, which one of you is DDoSing Avoided? Come clean, come clean.
I wouldn't put past Avoided to DDoS themselves, frankly. But we've seen this happen to players like Kassar plays in the Ultimates, and like it. Unfortunately, there's nothing really we can do about these tech issues. We've just got to hope that Yezen's going to be coming back fairly quickly, because I don't know about you, Nari, but we've kind of talked these compositions to death a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a lot easier if they had some more interesting stuff to show us. And
which is weird that we're looking at Avoided combos and going, I wish this was more interesting.
Well, as you said, we've talked it to death. Come on, throw in a Torb or something. Just throw us a bone here.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things that's interesting is looking at what Avoided are bringing to Contenders Trials is over the past 2 days of plays, we've not seen an awful lot of Mini-Me in the lineup, who is their Orisa player. They're leaning much more heavily on I'm Special.
Yeah, I think that just kind of... That's an interesting one, because Ken is the Genji, so I suppose they're not looking to run the Genji too much, otherwise they would be running the Orisa. But I see the Balls area does seem to be working out. Maybe it's the map types and the maps that are being played. We might see them a little bit later.
See, this is a really rough start here for Avoided. We will get the knockoff though, so now no Zarya available for either team, and that has bought time for Yezen to rejoin the lobby, rejoin the team, throw in the rockets, start to work up the kills, and what looked like that could have been a disastrous start there for Avoided allows Ken just all the space in the world to pop off. And now Ken has been such a good pickup for Avoided. He's such a flexible player.
I think he heard what I said about how Yezen was doing more than him, and he was just like, all right, let me show you how it's done. And he did. He pops off there. He does some phenomenal work. And again, not having the Zarya really helps. No personal bubbles to help whoever it is you're targeting. You can burn them down a lot faster, and he takes really great advantage of that.
That was
good
such a good combo. The pile driver in with the biotic grenade takes Sab out of the fight. And SMC find themselves once more largely cooped up in a small room with Avoided circling the cage like hungry sharks. Ken and Tractor Kid on the hunt in the back line. Going to see Ken momentarily divert focus. Will have the pulse bomb. Might see an opportunity here to get a couple of sticks. Just throws it in. Bit of a whiff, and now he's got to get out again. Once more, Choose Many crew trapped in a small space, and Yezen takes Bijou out of it. They're going to aggress out here, but it's already a really slow time bank compared to Avoided.
I mean, you mentioned Bijou possibly not getting the same kind of value, and you're absolutely right. He's only on 50% to that Dragon Blade. Sab already on 84% to the Nano, so they might have to invest that into someone else. Oh, it's happening. We're going full dive. Oh, I'm very excited to see how this works out. They don't have the boop available to them, but they do have, the Diva Matrix, which can deny a ton of damage. Hopefully there's the follow-up that they need. You now have the Winston and the Genji and the Diva that can dive together. They need to pick a target. They need to not stall out like they are right now.
Yeah, 1 minute 45 on the clock and a nice opening pick. Sleep and Barrage in over the top. The Barrage doesn't find anything. And Hades with a great mind there. Pounce is on top of Yez and takes him out of the fight. And as quick as that, they swap the comp, they flip the point, and we will see them going into point B. And this is phenomenally quick from Hades. Already has the Primal Rage online, unafraid to throw it in here and start to buy a bit more space. But Avoided, they're not completely out of this just yet. They're going to get a few more seconds of stall on this one.
It's taken them quite some time, not the time bank that they were hoping for, but a nice swap up there nets them a very swift fight and able to flip the point over. And I mean, you were saying a little bit earlier, Avoided forces teams to play their game. Choose Money crew kind of put their foot down. They were like, all right, we're done playing your nonsense. We're going to try things our way. And the SMC way, it did seem to work. But once again, now as we move over onto second point, this is where Avoided have that spawn advantage. So can Choose Money crew maintain the value that they've been getting from this composition? Hades already 20% to another Primal Rage. And A10 is going to have that self-destruct very, very soon. Both DPS have ultimates as well. But they're running into quite a few from Avoided as well.
Oh, what a sleep! Yezen coming in to try and snipe down the support, but diverts a huge amount of focus, and Avoided just go, no point cap for you today, SMC.
Despite a phenomenal sleep. And I think that was really well played from Avoided. It's like, Farah's asleep. All right, boys, let's go. And they all just rush forward and they kind of steamroll over the advancing Choose Money crew, which is not ideal. But no ultimates. Well, I think we saw the Valkyrie get used there. And, of course, the Nano boost. But Avoided aren't too concerned with that. They've got a Rocket Barrage about to be online. They're going to couple that potentially with the Graviton Surge. But if A10 can be the off-tank that I think he is, he might just be able to munch that.
There was a world here where Choose Money crew were going to be coming through this with a better time bank. That's now off the table. The best they can hope for is a roughly similar time bank here, but we need to see them up the tempo. They've got to start getting some frags. Away on the point, we will see the Graviton Surge come out. It's a 1-for-1 trade, tank for tank. Tractor Kids win in that race back to point, though. Blade finally out from Bijou, but it only finds I'm Special and 2 ults for 2 picks, with Avoided still in control of the point, and the respawns coming back in for them here is insufficient value. Bijou, ask for your money back.
Oh, he tried so hard there. Nice deflect on Yezen's rockets as well, but it just wasn't enough to get anything done. Oh, man, you hate to see it. Even the Graviton Surge from I'm Special wasn't ideal. It did manage to get one trade. Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. Was able to get a nice trade-off, and it kept them the point, but now they're not going to have that for the next fight. All they're really going to have is the space denial from Tractor's minefields. Is that going to be enough coming into the self-destruct and a rally?
Well, we will be seeing that Nanoboots coming online fairly shortly for Hampe as well. Tractor Kid with the knock up there onto Hades, who's once more closing in on a Primal Rage. Early minefield from Tractor Kid might have been a little bit of an overcommitment, but even with that out of the way and not finding value, Avoided is still finding picks. And Bijou and Ken, that was unfortunate.
Seems like Choose Money crew just not coordinating this dive as well as they should be. Hades kind of gets caught out somewhere on point. The rest of the team is off to the left somewhere around Mega. It's not working out the way that they would have wanted. Now we're seeing Fees onto the Echo instead of Bijou this time around. Not too sure if that's going to change too much. Surprising that Yezen is getting so much value on the second point, but of course it is Yezen, and Avoided still have 4 ultimates in this next fight. They are looking stacked to hold. Oh, that's
Leap. Deeper sleep on the back of it. Hades will now proc the Primal Rage as well, but Yezen's got the Nano and he's got the Barrage. He's looking for targets, but the Nano's going to run out here. We get a 1-for-1 trade with Bijou about to get this Dragon Blade online, but he's missing Sab. But the kills are now starting to appear for Shoes Money Crew. They've got a couple on the board, and now they've got the most tentative of feet on the point, ready to go. Bijou, he's going to pull out the family heirloom, slices through both supports, but this is looking increasingly like an overtime pack here for Shoes Money Crew. We've got that presence on the point. 3, 2, 1, and we are now into overtime. Not where you want to be if your Shoes Money Crew. Even if they round this one out, it's going to be 1 cap needed for Avoider in the next run through, Nari.
But can they get it? The minefields are out here from Hades.
It's such
Will
a
it
stall.
be enough?
He's coming back in, and he's looking to get this the Graviton Surge online. Drops it in, knocks 1 into it. Hanbei back in on the Lucio's going to pick out 1 here, but there's just too much battle line pressure here from Shoes Money Crew. Fees with the rundown on the beams, going to get 3 on the back end of the fight, and we will see another round here, but there's no cap time available for Shoes Money Crew.
That's really not looking good for them here. As you said, Avoided just need to get 1 tick, basically. I mean, because Shoes Money Crew aren't going to get an attack. So they need to hold as firmly, as fast as they possibly can. And let's face it, if we look at the very first round, I mean, Avoided kind of rolled over them in that first attack. So they're going to need to really show up here on this defense. And I'm hoping to see that they swap something up in their composition. Either that or they need to change their mindset. We'll have a look here. Yes, they are going to be going with the same kind of divey. In fact, it's the final dive that they used when they capped second point there with Fees on the Echo instead of the Tracer. Now, it did work out relatively well for them. They were able to cap the point. But again, they have to hold for the entire first tick. They cannot give up so much as a single tick here. They need to be really aggressive, but at the same time, they need to not die. If one person dies, that is a potential fight loss. They don't have a res. They don't have really anything else. They need to be trying to get the opening picks as quickly as possible, and that's really where they're going to be relying on Fees in the sky, trying to deal with Yezen. Because if Yezen gets 1 or 2 picks, particularly if SMC get shoved into a corner like they did previously with no real shields to speak of, then this could be game over.
But I do like that we've got A10 in on the Diva. Something to actually put a bit of pressure in onto Yezen might be what they need here, because he's now no longer completely uncontested. But Yezen now knows where everybody is. Tractor Kid takes the stun, takes the sleep, procs the adaptive shields, can't get out as Sab runs him down. Ever. With the res still in play, and T-Sorcerer with a small chance of getting that off, they're likely to have a numbers advantage. 10's going to find Hades, and this is it. Ooh, Sab with his second pick of the round. A10 with a rundown onto Yezen now that the Mercy Pocket's no longer in play. Means that we might see a hold here for Shoes Money Crew, which will result in a minute burnt off the time bank for Avoided. Still not out of this just yet. Tractor Kid's buying space. Ken closing in on the Nanoblade, on the Blade ready to go, but it was too many people out from Avoided was what I was trying to say. But Shoes Money Crew gave over a lot of ult charge to Avoided, so it's not looking great for them yet.
Sab and A10 doing work to take down that pharmacy did a lot to try and secure here. Oh my goodness, Yezen!
Gonna dive in.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to see that remech come through. He needs to land maybe 1 more shot on the Bunny Blaster to get back into the mech. He's back in the mech, but as he gets in the mech, Bijou gets sent back to spawn. We've got the Nano Boost out now over onto Hades, but as Hades leaves the point, Gen gets in the point with the Dragon Blade. We're deleted by Thief. Now there's a world here where we see this result in a draw. Minefield out from Tractor Kid. Will stop the recontest coming through, gets the D-Mech. There's the grab, knocks them all off of the point, but there's nobody there from Avoided to capitalize on it. Tractor Kid and Hanbei now getting into position, but Hanbei being pressured back. D-Mech. Yeah, it's enough on the high ground now.
Another
with
blade.
The barrage ready to go. Blade from Bijou. Finds T-Sorcerer, and now we're under a minute. This has been a phenomenal defense from Shoes Money Crew.
I mean, what was it you said to me before we started the broadcast? Something avoided 6 maps. This could be the tie.
6 maps.
Well, let's see, can they hold on? I mean, they don't really have too many ultimates here. They will have the self-destruct, which is great for zoning. They'll have the replicate as well, but that's all they have. Whereas Avoided have a rocket barrage. They're going to have a blade soon with a nano on top of that. This could be it. This is final fight territory, no matter how you look at it, Phil.
A10 is a combo fly and onion in the ointment, causing so much pain here. Yesen looking to get the D-Mech, will take A10 down. Another blade out from Fees on the duplicate. Gets one on the way out, comes in at full health, ready to go. I'm pressured on the high ground, and now Ken with a blade of his only gets the one pick here. And this is all Shoes Money Crew on the defense. Avoided, nowhere to be seen, and all that work thrown in for nothing as we draw on Volskaya.
Well, I mean, we said they needed to do something different on defense. They did something different, and what they did was defend. And it worked out really well for them. The swap up from the composition, it worked phenomenally. I think the added mobility, the fact that both of your tanks are very mobile. You know, when you're running the ball Zarya, you only really have one mobile tank, and as we kind of spoke about, you don't have any sort of shielding. And that can work on defense, but I think that they needed to run with something they're a little bit more familiar with. As I said earlier, you know, not playing Avoided's game, playing their own game. So they had a little bit of shielding to play with. They had 2 very mobile tanks. They had both the Tracer or rather not the Tracer, the Echo and the Genji. Echo in the sky, Genji on the ground, tons of damage flying out from every direction. They created their own crossfire, and they managed to win it out. And I think that maybe they found the secret ingredient. On this map, it ended up in a draw. It took them a little while to make that swap, but there's more maps on the way. Maybe this is where they kind of flip the script.
Quite possibly. I think a little bit of experimentation there on Ilios, not Ilios, that was the map before, on Volskaya, means that now maybe they've got a little more confidence that what they're doing can work. And I don't want to lay this all at the feet of A10, but I really feel like just the fact that you've now got to think a little bit more about where the barrage goes and where your rockets go so that they don't just all land in the defense matrix is a large part of why Yesen couldn't just barrage their way to victory on that last map.
Yep. I mean, I was talking with a now retired coach, but he was talking about the interplay between Graviton Surge and Diva Matrix. And he always used to tell his players, Diva doesn't eat your matrix, you feed your grav to the Diva.
Yeah.
You need to be watching for that matrix at every potential opportunity here, and I think that creates a massive play between these 2 off tanks here, between I'm Special and A10. I'm Special looking for that grav, waiting to make sure that the matrix is gone, or that A10 is on the other side of the map, as we saw on second point Volskaya a little bit earlier on. And of course, A10 constantly on the lookout. Does I'm Special have grav, and am I going to be able to eat it? If I don't eat it, you know, what are the consequences going to be? If he gets one person, not the end of the world. If he gets the entire team, well, it's probably a lost fight. So there's a lot of interplay there that I'm really excited to see here, and I think we can expand on that a little bit more now that we've got a little bit more time to actually watch it unfold. We're going to see Shoes Money Crew with the same defense we saw on Volskaya. It worked phenomenally for them before, and of course Avoided with much what we saw earlier, but Ken back on that Genji, and we'll see if it continues to net the results that he wants.
You know, an interesting thing here for Avoided is that their NA roster has a similar player. Moro fills exactly the same role in NA, Avoided being their flex DPS. And it's a real heads-up decision here from Avoided to actually have a similar player in the roster. We'll see the initial dive come through now from Avoided. Tractor Kid gets the run down onto Biju. Yes, and with Hades, FaZe is going to find one, but just not enough. Like, the kills have already gone so far the other direction that there's almost no chance for a Diva and a Echo to make this turn around.
I love seeing this from these teams, and this really speaks to the caliber of team here, because on Volskaya, Shoes Money Crew make a swap up in their composition. Avoided don't quite know how to deal with it in that moment. One step later, Avoided seem to kind of have figured it out. They seem to have a clue of what to deal with it, and it really shows the adaptability of these teams and how they're able to just swap things up on the fly and turn things around in their favor.
There's a full charge there on the adaptive shield for Tractor Kid on the way through. Don't often see the full numbers there. Ken falling low, backing out and begging for some healing. I'm Special able to trade himself out there. Respawn advantage heavily for the defenders here, so you don't mind too badly losing I'm Special here, particularly as T-Sorcerer is going to bring them back in. Looking to see an aggressive positioning here from Ken to maybe do something with this Dragonblade, but they've managed to do this now, in basically the neutral fight here. And we've seen the Nano Boost come out from Sab. We'll go on to Bija, but he's not committed this Dragonblade just yet, and they're losing this fight.
Avoided seems so coordinated here. You know, they normally, I mentioned a little bit earlier, they tend to have 2 to 3 fights happening on different points of the map. Now they're kind of playing a lot more together. They're not really going for that massive crossfire. They're just creating a crossfire between the ground and the air. Whereas, so you'll have 5 people on the ground all in one fight, and it seems to be working out quite well for them. They've got their target focus down. They know what they should be aiming for, and Shoes Money Crew just not sure how to deal with that.
Oh, a nice full wallet here for Voided on their run through. Ken reaches in, pulls out a nice crisp fiver in the form of a Dragonblade and only gets 1 out of that with a Nano Boost, but it's done enough here to start to creak this door open a little way for Avoided, because I'm Special has all the charge in the world, and he is just deleting D.Va at the source code level from the game.
And that is the one issue in the counterplay between D.Va and Zarya. It's that Matrix can't eat that beam. And a high charge Zarya, particularly if, I don't know, maybe you get a moose, Hades?
Oh dear. Oh, they knew where he was. This isn't a done deal. This is great though. Even if all you do is get the pick hit, they've managed to flush out the Primal Rage. That is such a useful tool gone for the sake of 1 kill, 2 kill. This is, oh, Hades, you took the wrong way, my friend. Towards safety.
I mean, that's a potentially 1 fight off the back of 1 very forced out Primal Rage, but no, cart is still moving. Was it worth it in the end?
Oh. He's trying to face tank some of these boosted rockets. Having to play on the low ground now. Up close lands the stickies, but a beautiful bubble protects Ken. No value out of that one. Now it's going to be Fee's turn to make something happen here with the duplicated Genji. Might be a little bit too late. We'll see the de-duplicate back into just pure Echo format there. And Ken is coming alive here. Gets 2 kills on the trot. He's in the back line, going toe-to-toe with both DPS. Might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew, but the payload, it's still a creeping forward.
And with a massive time bank, Shoes Money Crew are going to have to whip out a fantastic defense here on this very last point. We've seen them do it before. Can they do it now? They've got 4 ultimates to work here. One of those is the self-destruct, which is great for getting some zoning. There's a Nano Blade as well. Let's see if they can get that value.
Going to be Nano Blade out from both here and Ken. Finding the bigger number on the trump card for that one. Tractor Kid able to get a pick there on the D-Mech as the self-destruct comes through and finds nothing. And Avoided swarm over the cart, almost parked up in the VIP space. It's now about keeping the high energy on I'm Special and running down the recontest. 3 minutes and 19 seconds left on the time bank, and Avoided make that look very clean.
I'm starting to have a little bit of deja vu here. Feels like Volskaya all over again. But maybe Shoes Money Crew can pull out a super solid offense here. I'm kind of expecting them to run basically the same composition because the dive does work very well here on Hollywood. If you're going to go for a brawl, you need to play a little bit more slowly. You've got to be using cover, moving through either the right-hand room or the left-hand up the stairs and up onto the high ground. Similar to the Volskaya thing. Whereas if you can just dive, you kind of cut out the middleman somewhat and make your way straight onto point. The one thing I did note, however, was that their dive didn't seem particularly clean. So, yep, same composition, and hopefully they can clean that up a little bit more. Remember, when you're diving, you really do need to be moving as a unit, and it's usually your Genji, your D.Va, and your Winston. D.Va matrixes, and then you have Winston and Genji doing damage, dive onto a target, normally somebody in the backline, and then you capitalize on that. But that's not really what we saw on Volskaya, and that's something that they're going to need to clean up.
I wonder how much of the problem here for Shoes Money Crew is, as we've touched upon before, having this Echo in the mix rather than something that directly challenges the Pharah, because the Pharah's got the permanent pocket in the form of T-Sorcerer, and Fees just can't consistently burst through that pocket healing.
Yeah, pocket healing. That is the name of the game here, and it is obviously the most irritating thing to try and deal with. But again, we're waiting for that hit scan, for that, you know, headshot that you can't heal through. We still haven't really seen it. Fees desperately trying to make this echo work. They made it work on Volskaya's second point. Let's see if they can get that same kind of value coming through here. They are building up their ults fairly quickly though, and that should bode them well in the long game.
Oh, Hades is almost caught without abilities in the cafe, and that's even worse than being left in the cafe without a way to pay for it. An incredibly chaotic fight here. And actually, Bijou might have got the better of those couple of kills because the main source of the healing is now taken out. T-Sorcerer is not going to be able to fill that void. And now he and a couple of other members are trapped between the recontest coming through. Wow, okay. Ken's able to get in and find Hades. The recontest is going to come through. They've given over one tick, but Avoided are doing a very good job here of just tagging back in to burn time off the clock as the respawns come through. They're just making this slow and painful for Shoesman Crew.
Well, it might be slow and painful, but it is still getting results. You know what they say? It's got to get worse before it gets better. Looks like it got better for SMC. And they do manage to cap, and with about 5 minutes 10 on the clock, not a terrible time bank. They do have the Dragon Blade available to them, so that's going to really help them out here. Sab already having invested the Nano means they're not going to have that available, but you don't need it. There's no defensive ultimate here. Bijou should be able to slice through just about anything without the help of the Nano.
Self-destruct used just to get the mech back there for A10. Would have liked to have zoned out this particular ult pair here as Ken slices and dices through 3 of Shoes Money Crew. There's the D-mech onto A10, this time against his wishes, and the hold materializes for Avoided.
Now, I spoke about how there's no real defensive... Oh, good sleep there.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, wait, the res goes through? That's huge.
That angle valid, yeah. And A10 closes the distance and just gets knocked out of it by the newly resid Yezen. Bijou's gonna have the blade here. Sab goes down, so no combo with the Nano just yet, and Avoided keep up the tempo.
All right, Avoided, if you could let the fight end so that I can do my analysis, that would be great.
Nah. Nah.
I suppose... Oh, okay, that's a Roadhog. Okay, it's not a Roadhog anymore. Damn! I was really excited for that, but back onto the Zarya here. So many ultimates here for Avoided, and I mentioned how they don't really have a defensive ultimate for the Blade. On the other hand, Shoes Money Crew have the Rally. The problem is Kumba takes way too long to build it up, and he didn't have it available for the last Blade.
Here's the duplicate one more time. Feez Dog's gonna pick up the, Feez is gonna pick up the Genji, will bring out the Blade, gets back up to full health, but is trying to slash through one of the healthiest targets in the game, and gets caught in the grab as well. Good defensive use of the ultimate here. Barrage from the high ground, but Feez now gets the better of this one, and it's Bijou with the Blade in the backline, going mano-a-mano with the supports, gets the slice through onto Hampe, looking to give T-Sorcerer the same treatment, but T-Sorcerer too mobile, but will get chased into the path of A10 with one presumed a lot of energy on the table.
I don't call that mano-a-mano with the supports. I call that mano-a-squishio, because, like, let's face it.
Rolls off the tongue less well.
It really does. But you know what? If Ana can't get the sleep dart off, then it's not really a fair fight. And we saw that. Hot knife through butter. And Shoes Money Crew able to win out that fight. But they invested so much. They invested the rally as well. And once again, they're not going to have anything to deal with Ken's Blade. And he's really close to having it. Yeah,
and another chef's kiss of a minefield placement out from Tractor Kit. Makes contesting that card that little bit harder. Hades tries to run down T-Sorcerer, can't interrupt the res, and I'm Special deals with him and Avoided once more planting their flag on the payload now, Ree.
Very, very strong defense here. Once again, Shoes Money Crew just really, really struggling to get through this defense. And I mean, Avoided, like we said, one of those teams that always has these interesting strats that teams really struggle to deal with for some reason. Now, Shoes Money Crew back, for some time now, back onto the Wrecking Ball and the Zarya, realizing that the Winston Diva was not working out for them the way that they had hoped previously. A10 does have a grab available, probably looking to drop that any second now.
Yeah, that's going to go in early. Ken and Hampe have their own ideas, their own plans, and those plans are completely ripped up and thrown to the bin as Bijou takes Ken out of the fight, but it's not been as yet a dominant enough team fight here for Shoes Money Crew to start to push through this. They have got some presence on the cart. Gravity Surge is out, and we're going to get the minefield over the top from Hades, but neither of those really did anything. And
Not a
Yesen's
thing.
able to just get one with the barrage, and again, they're going to find the defense.
That was a really strange utilization of ultimates there. I mean, the Graviton Surge came through, but there wasn't really anybody to follow up on it. So Hades thinks, well, I'll just drop the mines. And that's not really follow-up because they just kind of walked out of it. And yeah, so both ultimates used with very minimal effect. A10, however, having just swapped over onto the D.Va, may have been a Hail Mary grab before the swap. And this is an interesting comp because now D.Va and Wrecking Ball is not something we see too often. Let's see if they can get some value out of that. They're placing a lot of value on the defense matrix here to try and deal with some of the incoming spam damage.
I'm looking at Fees and Bijou and thinking there's a world here where we get two Genjis on the field. Oh no, because Fees has swapped over on, Ken swapped over onto the Tracer. I'm special trades out for Hades, and it's Bijou in the back. Once more with the blades, gonna find the double, but it's now down at the 30-second mark. It's taken everything from Shoes Money Crew to just get it this far.
Literally everything. I mean, look at that ult economy. It's nowhere on the planet. Stab reasonably close to a nano boost, which should be able to help them, but now once again Avoided do have that spawn advantage working in their favor.
Well, T-Sorcerer is going to get caught out just as the fight was, I don't know, kind of half starting, kind of half finishing there. So another 10 seconds before Avoided are back at full strength. There's a world here now, where there's a small time bank cap here for Shoes Money Crew and another good hold, and we draw the second map in a row. So Avoided, if you don't want to keep me here indefinitely, let's
we got a second game to cast, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Come on, let's see some of the slides. Hell, let's see some of the slides out of Shoes Money Crew here. Big power driver into the back, and Tractor Kid pops a huge amount with the adaptive shields. There's the rundown, and now we are at 8 minutes and just a nano boost available for Shoes Money Crew.
Shoes Money Crew not looking good here in this next engagement here. Oh, they don't stagger out the D.Va. So that's actually good news for Shoes Money Crew. It means that A10 will be able to remech and close very quickly building up to that self-destruct. Again, very good for zoning, but A10 seems to be a little bit trigger happy with these self-destructs. We've seen that every time he's used it, it's not really gotten the value that they would have hoped for. So he's going to need to aim that, or aim the timing on that a little bit better if they want to get some results.
Yeah, that's hoping for a 6 on a 4-sided dice. Very difficult to make that work nowadays. And look how mobile Avoided are. So many of them get out of the way. And Tractor Kid has already found the entry frag. This is going to be an overtime pick. There's the self-destruct, but it goes high, it goes wide, it goes too far. Yesen's able to get one of the DNX before deciding it's time to take a nap. And now it's down to Fees to try and keep this alive. Got the blade out from Bijou, trying desperately to claw his team's way forward. Finds a couple of picks, but in the meantime, T-Sorcerer gets into the back and brings Ken back in. And that's gotta be it here. Shoes Money Crew falling at the final hurdle and Avoided looking to cap out Hollywood.
Actually, great work there from I'm Special. The projected barrier onto Yesen kept him alive through the bomb, and the mercy T-Sorcerer. Oh, wait, do we turn this around?
This looks like we might have called this one dead a little bit too early. No, do you know what? The Graviton Surge completely takes that one down. Kumba goes for a last-second touch, but that's not going to be enough. And we're now at match point now, Ree.
That's it.
Games,
where was I? Oh, yes. So, great projected barrier onto Yesen to help him survive through the self-destruct. T-Sorcerer manages to get himself into safety behind a building, and I think that the bomb was specifically going for the pharmacy. So it was actually really great play from T-Sorcerer to be able to find that little bit of space behind a building to stay alive. And then, of course, I'm Special with the incredibly fast reflexes to drop that projected barrier onto Yesen, keep his team alive. A very solid defense there from Avoided. And then, of course, just as it looked like Shoes Money Crew might be back in the fight, a massive Graviton Surge and a little bit of cleanup brings us, as you said, Phil, to match point for Avoided. This could be the one time you don't have to cast a 6-match series for Avoided.
Oh, well, let's not count it out just yet. It is technically, whilst unlikely, possible to draw a payload map. It requires a couple of really weird circumstances to come about, but it can happen. And if there's a team that can do that, specifically to inconvenience me, it's Avoided.
You know, we very nearly saw that in Open Division. Oh, I don't remember which two teams were playing, and I'm sorely disappointed. But there was a solid hold on Havana where the payload didn't move so much as an inch.
Wow.
The actual the measurement was 000. But when the sides swapped, we didn't get to see those fantastic events, as a slight C9 and a Lucio on the payload managed to get that 1 little inch and secure the victory. So a little upset that I didn't get to see it, but as you said, if it is possible, I'm sure Avoided will inflict that upon you, so maybe we'll see that today.
We may well see that, but in the meantime, we're going to throw to a very quick break as we give our two teams a little bit of a chance to get a drink and refresh themselves, but don't go too far because it will just be a handful of minutes, guys. We're back at it, everybody. Break done, players refreshed, casters sat down at their seats and ready to go in what could be our last map of this series. Avoided, they've got form of taking this all the way, or the distance. You've been watching us this series, you'll know that we've been over this a couple of times. But if Avoided can win out this final map, that is it. They will be taking the victory over Shoes Money Crew.
Yep, and our next map, well, we're going to be heading on over to Route 66. And I'm really excited for this one, because if we hadn't seen enough of the Pharaoh plays, then this really is the map to see just that little bit more of it. The skybox is infinite. The amount of value Yezin's going to be able to get here is going to be astronomical. But I'm really hoping, because this is another one of those maps where you can really get some hit scan, quote unquote, or not quote unquote, but hint hint, you know, sniper play, because the sight lines are so fantastic, particularly on first point, second point, really good, third point, just sight line after sight line. Please, guys, SMC, I want to see I don't know, maybe you've attempted the hit scan in scrims and it didn't work out, and that's why you're not running it here today. But I gotta believe that if you can just click on Yezen's head, then you can turn this around. Just click on it.
It's all about getting the mouse and just like as hard as you can onto their head. That's what wins the game for you. I feel like it's obviously a lot more complicated than just guys you've got to deal with Yezen, because you give yourself a static DPS like it would make it, or to a lesser extent an Ashe, and you make yourself very vulnerable. And I got the chance to speak to Minimi during a prospect a couple of weeks back, saying that one of the things they explicitly practice is Tractor Kid and Yezen for hours and hours and hours on the rank ladder, working together to dive hit scan DPS. And I've just dragged this comment out from the depths of my memory, so apologies for not bringing it up earlier.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah, you have that static DPS, they actually already know how to deal with it. Like, you're not safe. You're never safe.
Goodness. That says a lot. I mean, if you cast your mind back to the old Clockwork Vendetta days, and obviously that's where Mini-Me originally surfaced, and back then it was like, we don't scrim, we don't practice, we don't care, and clearly it's really great to see how much more seriously the game is being taken now, even for a team like Avoided that a lot of people might brush off because of the composition that they run, but they're really proving that, we run weird stuff, and we make it work because, well, we put in the time, and that comment just proves it. I was very excited for a split second to see a Reaper on the board, but it was a big bait from our attackers. What I am really excited about is FaZe is on the Ashe.
Yes.
No Mercy Pocket, however, so a one-shot headshot is out of the question, but it's still a ton of damage. If he can coordinate somehow, we've got A10 on the Orisa as well. We get some nice big halts potentially. The Orisa Winston is a composition that I always find interesting, but I really do like it. The split composition can do wonders.
You can almost see the communication going on here. Yezen saying, okay, guys, they're set up behind a bunker on Big Earl, so we need to get something done on this. And Hades playing back an assassin there.
Sab!
Follow with the grenade from Sab just next Yezen, and I'm special. Out of it, Yezen's going to be brought back in by T-Sorcerer, but into a fight they've already lost.
I mean, wow, the forethought from Sab to be able to just toss in that nade there and get two absolute yeet from the fourth dimension, manages to get 2 kills and secure that fight win. And we're building up some nice ult charge here, but that is not good for SMC.
No, that is a terrible start, and Tractor Kid comes in to cause a little more terror, displace a few more players, barely gets out of that with his life, and as FaZe tries to track him down, Ken dives on him and deals with him summarily. And now Yezen's got a lot more space to work with. He's playing up above what's left of Shoes Money crew, and he's not above hounding them back into spawn.
And firing those rockets as far back into spawn as possible, just to assert some dominance there. But SMC not deterred.
Man, this has been such a great nano boost. We'll see 3 kills come back, and almost all on the back of the space that Hades created with that nano boost, and they're just able to retake their defensive position.
What an amazing retake from Shoes Money crew here, and in fact, watching Hades, who nearly died.
Hello.
Oh, it's still going. They're just not giving up.
Yeah, Ken, you can't deflect the Tesla cannon. It doesn't work.
But you can try.
You can try.
All right, SMC, they seem to have stabilized their defense here for a second, if Avoided will allow me to speak. And fantastic defense there. Hades actually going phenomenally low in that last fight. Gets the health pack yoinked away from him. But some nice spam healing from both Sab and Kumba keep him alive. And they're able to maintain a nice solid defense here with 5 ultimates for this defense. Running into 5 from the offense. Who wins?
Here's how we start things out. It's Ken with the glowing sword of doom. Causing trouble, gets the slice through onto A10. And all those ults that Shoes Money crew had.
Another primal!
Ooh, that's incredibly quick from Hades. Nano boost, no, anti-nade over the top will take B2 out of it. And this went from being incredibly one-sided to Hades really making a hero play to keep his team in it. But the payload not out of the woods just yet. I'm Special is still here with a lot of charge. and we'll get Hades. And now it's FaZe alone on the point until the recontest comes through.
And that was really funny because the blade comes through and Yezen, of course, yoinks all of the kills there. But Hades with the Hail Mary Primal Rage, the juggling ability, getting people killed off the jetpack, and the time is ticking down. Under a minute to go. A nice early pickoff, though.
Yeah, a couple of great early pickoffs, both DPS off the table. Even with the rally in play from Kumba, it's not going to be enough to give away life the consistent pressure that Yezen can provide. And probably one of the better defenses we've seen here from Shoes Money Crew.
Absolutely. Hades unable to get a third Primal Rage, which would have been quite impressive, but unfortunately just wasn't quite able to do so. We're up to 30% on that. We do, however, have the Supercharger ready to go, which should help with a little bit of ult charge here for the rest of the team. There's a Nano Boost as well to allow a little bit more sustainability, particularly because Bijou's only at 20% of the ultimate, but they do have some time here to build it up.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at these ults that we've got available. Oh, okay, hi, wow. That's going to be FaZe with the Nano Boost this time. Deals with Yezen with a single headshot, but Yezen gets brought back in here. And now FaZe is on the hunt for an angle. Will find Yezen. Great play here from FaZe. Completely predicted that pathing and dealt with Yezen. Finally, we're seeing him counter.
You know what? I might be counting my chickens, but I feel somewhat vindicated. We got that hit scan out, and Yezen is just being shut down. However, you did mention that they do plan for this, do avoid it. So let's see how they manage to turn this one around. They do know that FaZe is an issue. FaZe does have the Bob available, and that's a nice little auto turret there for quite some time. Going to be pretty difficult to try and deal with that. Kumba does not have the rally, and that's unfortunate because there will be a Nano Blade.
This is going to start to be a little bit rough now for Yezen because he feels like he's being incredibly well focused down. Ken is still in this though. Fight 3, fight 4 on the back.
More than in it.
Having fight 5. That was incredible from Ken.
I would go so far as to say he was in it to win it, and that is exactly what he did. What a phenomenal blade. You don't expect it to get that much value. Oh my god, poor Hades. Just leaps and bounds across the map just to get away. And again, Kumba never has that rally for the blade. If they'd had the rally available, they might have been able to survive. Maybe 1 or 2 people would have survived. Let's face it, that was a pretty big blade.
Speaking of the blades, another one off the table. And it's going to be Bijou desperately trying to get enough time here to deal with Yezen. But it meant that that blade found sweet, nothing at all. And Bijou himself getting heavily pressured. We'll see the one trade come out there from the barrage. No space here for T-Sorcer to come and get the... Oh, the minefield buys him space to get the res off. Hades is going to go down here and avoided once more back in control of the payload.
Oh, that was fantastic work there from Tractor Kid, coming in around the outside from the back line of the enemy team to drop those mines on cart, make sure that no one can contest it, and they managed to push it through to the second checkpoint. Now, however, we move into a very, very enclosed area, and this is where certain heroes start to get a little bit less value. I'm thinking specifically of the Pharah here, but Yezen has been such a stellar performer throughout this series. I don't think he's going to let it deter him. FaZe, however, is going to get a ton more value, and let's see if he can get a little more value out of the Bob, because he clearly used it, but I think I missed it.
Yeah, it was so ineffectual that it didn't open kill feed at all. Ken somehow with another hero.
Oh my god, dude.
Is this guy made of?
Ken, are you human? Or are you dancer? I don't know what you are, but you are performing out of your mind. And Kumba, once again, just never has the rally. Although, if you never want to fight, you never build ultimate, and that's really causing issues for Shoes Money Crew here.
Yeah, you can't heal dead teammates. Speaking of which, that's going to be Ken in that category. FaZe did throw it in the Bob. Looks like, again, from Bob, he's gone off on holidays somewhere. He's just run away into the backline and kept going all the way to Ilios beachside. He's going to find Hades here, though. Puts in the 5v6. Respawn's kind of equal at this point, though.
Hades finding himself a little bit out of position, a little bit too consistently here, and that does not bode well. Oh, Nanoblade.
Okay.
Good positioning.
Once he's climbing the sun, this one finds the double, looking for the third, and a clean team fight win here with 21 seconds on the clock.
And that was really, really instrumental, really vital for Shoes Money Crew to win out. Now they will have the Primal Rage. It's been really effective in helping them previously. We do see Ken swapping over onto the McCree here, trying to deal with Bijou and maybe snipe Fees out of the sky. Help with Yezen, who's got a blade ready, or rather a barrage.
Oh, this was a great predict from Hades. Caught Ken mid-rotation.
But
We'll see the Graviton Surge come through, but Yezen, despite the confines of a roof and a ceiling and 4 walls on the ever-flying hero, continues to find value and find pressure and find the concussive blast onto a Sleeping Winston that knocks them into the range of additional damage and stops the contest. It's a cap, but it's a cap in overtime.
a great read from Hades to read that rotation, but at what cost? He wasn't anywhere near his team. And when there's so little time left on the bank and you know that your enemy team is going to be coming in hard and fast to try and get that payload to the final point, you really want to be with the rest of your team, particularly as a main tank. If there was like a, I don't know, if Genji had been chilling there waiting for the McCree, it would have been more dangerous, clearly, but it wouldn't have been as impactful as missing out on your main tank. So good read, poorly timed. And it ultimately, you know, it contributed to them losing out on that final point.
And I think particularly a good read, given that we also saw the adaptation from Ken coming in the McCree, because I feel like that wasn't necessarily read by Hades. He was just trying to generally deal with the aggression that was likely to come through and get a bit of cheeky ult charge on the way through. Genji would have been a little less susceptible to that, but he was there anyway, looking for every possible pixel of advantage.
Now, as we swap over sides, it looks like, well, not much to say about Avoided. Avoided is doing Avoided.
Avoided is the Avoided comp, yeah.
You know, that's what it's called now, Avoided comp. And Shoes Money Crew. Shoes Money Crew going to be continuing with the split composition that we saw on their first defense, and it worked really well on their first defense. I'm curious to see how they're going to implement it here on the offense. Of course, they do have the Orisa, which is a little bit more stationary, but can provide some great cover for Fees to potentially get some pop-offs here, and hopefully get that Yezen out of the sky so that they can keep this payload rolling.
The other advantage of the Battle Cattle, of course, is that it's going to buy some time here for Fees to line up his shots without getting pressured through. Dive's going to come through to chase Tractor Kid away, but he's not gone too far. He's still in here, still looking to cause trouble. Receives the projected barrier. Pile drives in and is just for now stopping up the payload.
A nice little brawl going on payload here, but oh, Hades going down, that's bad.
Yeah, but look, Shoes Money Crew, they knew what the problem was. Yes, he's down. Rez likely to come back through there from T-Source, but I don't think they've lost anybody else recently. See, they bounce back ever so slightly and then start to push forward again, but they're pushing forward into a wealth of aggression. And hey, do you know what? I love the style here from Fees. The casual 180 takes Tractor Kid out of the fight. Nano Boost is going to come out here onto Hades, but he gets slapped. And he gets concussive blasted away. So that Nano Boost found absolutely bagel.
And that's great news for Avoided, all things considered. Yeah, they're having such a solid defense. Shoes Money Crew just unable to break through it once again. Tractor Kid consistently finding himself in the enemy backline. And look at that, he's playing bowling. Everyone else is playing Overwatch and he's out here bowling.
Congratulations, Shoes Money Crew. Find yourself promoted to the rank of Skittle. Ken on the hunt now. Back in on the Tracer rather than Genji this time. Hasn't found too much on that one, but it's a lost team fight for SMC. What more are you going to find?
And the most important thing to note about Avoided here is that they haven't actually used an ultimate. Look how many ults they have on the board here. They still have 5. They're winning these fights out so cleanly. Shoes Money Crew, they're going to have a nano boost. Well, they'll have a Genji blade. They'll have that. They're not going to have the nano, unfortunately. But the rally is building up, which could help them out for their next engager. They are running out of time to cap this first point.
Speaking of nano boost, it's Yezen up in the skybox with the nano boosted barrage, with the nano boosted primary fire, with the mercy pocket, with every resource a Pharaoh player could ask for. Pick it apart, Shoes Money Crew.
Oh my goodness. 2 ultimates, yeah. It was the nano blade or the nano boost. I'm so used to using those 2 words together. The nano boost and the barrage, and phenomenal value out of that. But Kumba held on to that rally. I suppose he was dead. He couldn't really use it at the time, but it has procced now, and he will have that available for this next engage. And again, time slowly ticking away. There's a Bob as well, which could really help for maybe denying some space.
Ooh, that's a big opener. Feast finds some space for Bob to come in. And again, just seems to completely lose track of Bob. He's just disappearing. What?
Where? Bob?
Oh, okay. Yezen's going to go down on this one as well. And now we've got that numbers advantage. Shoot Beauty Crew, but the T-Sorcerer able to bring Yezen back in. Great Graviton Surge. A little bit of follow-up here from Tractor Kid, but he's on low health. And there's a lot of HP to burn through here as he tries to make his way around. And Special is going to get juggled off the side. And from Hades, cool kids, don't look at I'm Special being knocked off the map. It's looking like it's going to be a cap here for Shoes Money Crew, but another round where it took a long time for them to make this happen.
I think that Bob was somewhat instrumental, not in getting kills, but giving some space, forcing the entirety of Avoided to have to push back a little bit or pull back a little bit and giving the cart room to breathe. But unfortunately here, Avoided, or unfortunately for Shoes Money Crew, Avoided are back in this fight.
Oh, this is a great pairing to use on the recon test. Beat you coming in fine at 3. We're still going to have this recon test in, and we've still got Avoided throwing resources at this. Yezen went for the aggressive Conk Blast, but instead found the aggressive primary fire from Fiends.
Great recall there to survive, but it's not going to be enough, and that's just, you chalk that up to a bit of a stall kill there. Not that it's going to mean too much. They do have a fairly close spawn here, so Shoes Money Crew coming into this next fight. Another Bob online for Fees. He's been doing a lot of work on this Ashe, and you kind of highlighted it at the top of the broadcast. Now I can see why.
Well, I'm looking at Avoided, and yeah, they've got a little bit of time before they're properly in this fight, and they will have to deal with the Bob, but they've got that Nano Barrage again, ready to go! Nano Barrage, yes, it's large. Will find Fees, does the body damage, and allows for the rest of the team to find the cleanup. And as soon as SMC take possession of the cart, Avoided yank it right the way back again.
And this is the issue, because as soon as Fees is not around, as soon as he's not there to keep Yezen in check, Yezen just goes off and he gets way too much value. So Fees does need to survive. Now we're actually going to see him swap over onto the McCree here to see if this maybe works out a little bit better than what his Ashe did. Maybe slightly better maneuverability. I'm not too sure.
Man, he did a lot there to laser down Yezen. Like, this guy's tracking, this guy's plays are phenomenal. But there's only so much you can do when you're being run down by a Wrecking Ball through a minefield. There's a rally coming out here from Kumba as well.
One.
And Yezen with another barrage, and he gets 3. Normally 1 and being killed is good value from the barrage. This is phenomenal from Yezen.
I mean, he's kind of been the talking point of this entire series, and this is exactly why. He builds up his barrages at an unprecedented rate. He's already at 22% to another one, having just used one in the last fight. I mean, and then he manages to get the most insane value, comboing with I Am Special to get the nice little projected barrier, make sure he survives all the damage. He's been a beast.
Wow, Pulse Bomb very nearly takes A10 out of the fight. Comes down, and we're at 30 seconds here. There will be the Bongo Blade ready to go here for Shoes Money Crew, but it's got to come out in the next 20 seconds.
They need to touch in the next 20 seconds, and they are somewhat being spawn held here. Avoided just not giving them the opportunity to get anything done.
Looks like we will see the contest coming through. A10 probably has enough space here to get in and touch the cards. Takes a lot of pressure, and we need to see these ults coming through now. There it is, the Super Blade with the Nano Boost as well. We'll see the Nano Boosted Arrow come through, but this is incredibly trade here from both sides. Shoes Money Crew now have a numbers advantage. Tractor Kid goes down, and they've got to make the rest of this push in overtime now.
Supercharger Blade, and then the Nano Barrage, but the Barrage gets slapped after getting only 1 kill, and the Supercharger went down almost immediately by Ken beaming it down on that Tracer. So yeah, a lot of ultimates used there, a lot of good trades, some great utility coming through, but SMC ultimately come out on top. But they do need to keep this cart moving. They can't allow Avoided to push them off. And let's face it, they have Tractor Kid on that Wrecking Ball. That's what he does. He boops people off point. Thankfully, he doesn't have the mines. So this is still winnable for Shoes Money Crew.
The Wrecking Ball 9, a little bit tricky to pull off, particularly when you're in a 5v6. Fees with the double now finds 1 for the pulse bomb, and now Avoided have to make something happen through the sustained healing and over armor of the rally. And it's looking like it's not going to work for them here, and we're going to get one more bite at the cherry for Shoes Money Crew.
They managed to finally sneak that payload home. I think if Tractor Kid had the Wrecking Ball mines available, that would have been way more difficult. But Shoes Money Crew were able to get that out of him a little bit earlier on, and they do finally get the 2nd point cap. Now they have a minute here to try and get all the way to 3rd point, and this is very important for them. They don't have a ton of ultimates to work with. They will have the Nano Boost fairly soon, but Avoided have 3 ultimates online here with the Graviton Surge about to proc.
Storm committed by Ken won't find too much. I'm looking at Biju and Sab here as the big pull through combo from Shoes Money Crew. That nano boosted Dragon Blade vital to making this work. There's the forward positioning. Campaign low. What the Biju? I'm special. Taste that delicious pairing of the table. And now SMC, they're going to be throwing the scraps of this meal back into the fight with Avoided. We've got 25 seconds left to go on the clock. We're going to have a Primal Rage and a Supercharger, but that is it, and not a lot of time for it to happen.
That was catastrophic for SMC. Losing Bijou, not getting any value out of the Blade or the Nano, and now they're going to be coming into a Graviton Surge and a Barrage. Those two are so dangerous on their own. Combine them, and this could be the end for SMC.
Oh, I'm special. Lasers down Bijou. There's the grab.
There it is.
It's been a great swap from A10, but it's just not enough. Ate a lot of that Barrage, but not all of it. Not by a long stretch. Not by nearly enough. Shoes Money Crew down at the final hurdle. Avoided, looking to take the series here in Contenders Trials Day 2.
Oh man, what a fantastic series. And Phil, we didn't go to a map 6. Curse broken.
I think the piece that was missing from us going to a map 6 was that it's not currently 3 a.m. my time. If it was 3 a.m. my time, Avoided would be taking us to map 6.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. You gotta have all of the conditions accurate before things like that happen, you know?
Yeah. It's a delicate science. It's not happenstance.
Not an exact, it is a very exact science, yes. Wow, Avoided did so well there, despite Fees coming out on that Ashe and actually doing a ton for Shoes Money Crew to try and shut down Yezen. Just wasn't enough. Avoided's composition is so strong here. You mentioned Mini-Me said that, well, it's what they do. They practice against their kind of hard counters in the Widowmaker, the Ashe, whatever it may be. And whether it's diving onto the hard counter, which we didn't see too much of, or it's just Yezen being able to play corners, play environment, play around buildings, and not get headshot, but still get tons of value out of the rockets and build up those barrages very quickly. And then, of course, as I said, couple that with I'm Special's projected barrier to make sure that he doesn't get slept or killed in the middle of his barrage. I mean, Avoided are just playing so well together here. Shoes Money Crew kind of felt, I don't know. I mean, clearly they scrim these teams, but I mentioned how their dive didn't seem particularly well organized. They tried the split composition where they had the Winston and the Tracer, you know, trying to dive into the backline, and then they had the more brawl happening on cart with the Orisa and the supports, and of course Fees on the Ashe, but it still didn't really work out the way that they had intended. So I think Shoes Money Crew just haven't quite figured out. They haven't got the formula just yet for beating Avoided. They're very close. They did manage to, you know, wrangle a draw out of this, but it's just not quite where it needs to be.
They definitely seem to level up over the course of the series, and I'm sure the next time these two teams meet, Shoes Money Crew are going to have a slightly different run through this one. But with the match out of the way now, it's time now for us to talk to one of the players from our winning team, Avoided, and I do believe we've got Hampe coming in to talk to us, and a player for Avoided. So the second they're in the lobby, we'll get this interview ready to roll.
Yeah, I think that's pretty exciting. I do believe we have actually interviewed Hampe previously. Oh, there he is. Speak of the devil.
Let's say you got Hampe. Hampe, congratulations. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling just great, but it was kind of expected, honestly, like a 3-0. Told you guys yesterday.
Just dive straight in with the, this is what we expected. All right, I like it. Confidence.
Yeah.
So it seemed like there was maybe mid-match a bit of an adaptation from Shoes Money Crew to run the the sort of the dive and the dive variants, and that seemed to give you a little bit more pause than what they were initially running with the Echo and the Genji. When that came out and you were starting to have a little more trouble dealing with it, what was the thought process for overcoming it?
It wasn't much really. We were talking about what we're gonna have for dinner later, so it wasn't really an issue, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
it seemed to present enough of an issue to force a draw on Volskaya, but of course, once we moved on to Hollywood, it didn't present much of a problem at all. So, what happened on Volskaya that you were able to adapt to so well on Hollywood?
I think on Volskaya we were like celebrating a bit early and underestimating them, and that was what made it a draw, I think.
So looking forward, obviously we're only on day 2 of Contenders trials. Is there anybody left in the group that you are particularly worried about coming up against?
They're all shooters.
Okay, good to know. So that sounds like you are incredibly confident on this one, Hampe. It's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm actually really confident, and it's an embarrassing performance from SMC, throwing in scrims and performing this in a match.
Okay, well, you heard it here, guys. This is the gauntlet well and truly thrown down here from Hampe, having none of this business from Shoes Money Crew. Hampe, we're going to very shortly let you go back to your team and celebrate and plan for what you're going to have for dinner and who maybe you should or shouldn't be worrying about in the rest of trials. But before we let you go, anything you'd like to say? Anybody you'd like to shout out?
No, I don't really have a shout out. SMC, maybe you should practice more so you can actually win them up next time.
Okay, well, Hampe, thank you very much for joining us. Guys, that's the end of the series between Shoes Money Crew and Avoided. But coming up next, we've got what could be an absolute corker of a match coming up to you. Sheer Cold going against Angry Titans. We're going to be bringing you that once we've got everybody in the lobby and ready to go, so don't go too far. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you've taken a minute to cleanse your minds of the incredibly spicy talk that we just had here on our broadcast. Suffice to say, not encouraged by myself and Nari in any way, shape, or form, but still incredibly funny to listen to. Game number 2 coming your way, though. Sheer Cold versus Angry Titans. And for my money, Nari, these are the 2 teams that are up in the top of this group. These are the 2 teams I'm looking at to make it back up into Contenders.
Yeah, I would go so far as to say not just this group, but just in trials in general. They have been somewhat of a powerhouse throughout the Open Division season, and of course, the recent pickup of Facility to Angry Titans is, oh boy. If they needed a little bit more star power, they certainly found it. And I mean, just taking a look at their roster, it is filled with tier 2 royalty, just the veterans of the tier 2 scene. These are guys that have been around the block for quite some time, and I think they got a little bit of a point to prove here. Sheer Cold I believe they only broke into Contenders this year, so having just dropped into trials and then eventually back into Open Division, they've also got a little bit of a point to prove here. They recently found themselves a new coach in David, who has also someone else that has a ton of tier 2 experience. So I think that this might have helped them level up their game just a little bit. But can they go toe to toe with Angry Titans? That is the question, and it's going to be answered tonight.
It is. It's been a long time since we've seen these guys come up against each other because, of course, Sheer Cold have just come out of July Contenders, whereas Angry Titans, the season before this, a really unfortunate run through the Contenders series and then down into Open Division. They did have a ridiculous run through Open Division. I think they dropped 2 maps over the entire tournament. So, a really strong team. And the pickup of Facility actually came after that Open Division run because Facility was playing, I think, for HSL during Open Division.
No, it wasn't HSL. I'm trying to remember the name of the team now.
It was another former tier 2 team.
Yeah, I know who the manager is, but I forget the name of the team. But it wasn't HSL. Yeah. Vasta, there we go.
Vasta, there we go. Thank you. You guys couldn't hear that, but prod in our ear did prompt us. It was, in fact, Vasta Gaming. So I imagine Vasta, who are also in, I believe, the same group here for trials, probably slightly mourning the loss of Facility. But, Angry Titans, they've got this bigger esports org structure approach. They can probably provide a little more value to Facility than a relatively small organization like Vasta can. And unfortunately, that's just how it goes sometimes for games like this.
It's poach Overwatch, and it's always been like that. I mean, I can remember many seasons past of teams a day or 2 before an official being like, well, we just got poached. It is unfortunately the nature of the game, and well, I think it kind of lends itself to a little bit more spice. It does make things stressful, but the team that got poached from kind of feels they have something to prove now, like, well, you took our player, but we're going to do it without you, so meh. And the team that poached them need to kind of justify, like, well, this is why we poached them. See our results, aren't they amazing? So there's a little bit more spice involved here, which I think adds to the fun.
Worth noting that we did also get a second pickup for Angry Titans, which was Pure Irish, formerly Team Ireland Overwatch World Cup in 2019, and also formerly of Dreadlaws. Not seeing him starting here today, but a very flexible off-tank player, and I believe can provide just another pivot point here for Angry Titans. Sheer Cold, on the other hand, this is a roster they have been running for a very, very long time, like, or not the entire time, but like some iteration of this lineup has been in existence for Sheer Cold for quite some time now. So they're very well practiced and they're very well integrated, and I do wonder if, even lacking the star capacity of somebody like Facility or Doggo, just the fact that these guys have been playing consistently more together, is that enough to give them the edge over the Angry Titans?
Well, I mean, Sheer Cold have been, their kind of core of Shade, Alex, Backbone, and Grathan have been around since, I believe, like December of last year. And we even made the jokes way back when Tap got poached up to Uprising Academy, and Backbone came in, and Backbone just absolutely popped off, and everyone was worried. We were like, oh no, Tap's gone. Whatever will Sheer Cold do? And we made the joke, well, Backbone he is the backbone of the team. He just picked up the whole team, put him on his back, and off he went. So they have been performing exceptionally well. Alex, one of the most phenomenal off tanks that I've seen in quite some time in Tier 2. The man can play just about anything. He has been performing out of his mind. So this is a very, very solid team. But again, they're coming up against veterans of the Tier 2 scene. Crox's ex-SMC, Knass and Visility, Doggo, who's recently come back from the States. She's now back in the EU region, and we are very grateful to have her back here. And of course, Starboy. Bit of a reunion here for, I believe, Doggo, Starboy, and Little Flame, who are old Eminence players from like that's a throwback and a half. So it's really nice to see them back at it. They should still have a little bit of that synergy that they had going for them all that time ago. But this is the real test of their mettle. I believe Sheer Cold have actually beaten British Hurricane at one point. So they're not a team to turn your nose up at.
No, they're absolutely not. It does say something, though, that they are now down in trials rather than having stayed up in contenders. So whether that's other teams leveling up around them or changes to Sheer Cold within the lineup, within the coaching, whatever, that's just had that knock-on effect, it's a little bit hard to say without that data. But just as another point here, looking at the matches yesterday, the group isn't particularly close. We've had a couple of 3-0s and a couple of 3-1s. Angry Titans managed a 3-0 yesterday. Sheer Cold only managed a 3-1 yesterday. So already a 1-point advantage here for Angry Titans. Not enough to make that overall prediction as to what we're going to see, but worth bearing in mind once we actually get a little bit of data on this matchup.
And speaking of what we're going to see, very curious what these compositions, if they're going to stick. I like Grathan on the Widowmaker, and I hope that does stick. I believe Backbone is just going to be TPing them out of spawn. We'll see what he swaps over to once that's done. And Visility and Little Flame, the Sombra Tracer. We've got a little bit of a dive going on here, and I think that the Sombra could really create some issues here.
Really could, although who's your hack target here? Like, everyone's very static and fairly well protected. We'll see if Visility actually gets stunned out there, but it's Nesson coming in with the roll through. Croc's the first to die, and Sheer Cold definitely had the better read on this comp. That's unfortunate for Angry Titans. They get picked apart on the first offense.
Yeah, Knaston getting into the back line there, but not able to really get any value. You know, his job is to be an irritation in the back line, cause some issues for the supports, and draw attention away. But he wasn't quite able to get the value that he wanted. Sheer Cold did fantastically to just kind of walk it straight onto point, and they take early capture, which is fantastic for them.
I think the one thing that is maybe going in favor of Sheer Cold here is the Visility's already managed half of this EMP ready to go. Starboy with a run through there wasn't enough to keep Knason in the fight. And it's once more 5v6 here. 4v6 now. And yeah, Sheer Cold, I really don't know what they're trying to accomplish with this comp.
You know what?
Sorry,
they're
Angry
doing
Titans.
their best here.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think maybe you go for a hack onto one of the supports and get them out, out of being able to do much of anything. But it doesn't seem to be working out too much for them. I mean, even if you hack one of the tanks, okay, you take the shield out of the play, but the other tank still has a shield. So I think, once they saw the comp that Sheer Cold was running, maybe that's the time for you to just go back and swap off. But they are going to keep running it in.
And that's so good. They still have they are only just getting this EMP online. 70% of the point capped for that fight-winning ult is not enough. It's not quick enough, and they are still slowly losing this fight. They need out, and they need out now because this is fight territory.
Sheer Cold have got AT on lock. They're just not allowing them to touch the point at all. But AT coming into this next fight, got a couple of ultimates online here. Little Flame.
Visibility walking into the infra site. They know exactly where he's going to be. Crocs is going to get the opener, but immediately dealt with as the Graviton's Flux comes through. Backbone now on the hunt with the sword online. Kill starting to approach starting to turn up in favor of Angry Titans. Finally. But it took them it took them all the way to 99, and now they are without all but one ultimate.
It took them all the way to 99, and as you said, a ton of ultimates as well. They will still have the sound barrier, and we're seeing a couple of swap-offs. I say a couple. We got Graffin swapping over onto the McCree here. Oh, why swap off of the Widowmaker? Little Flames on Widow. You want to take that battle. You want to shut him down.
It's mind games here. Little Flame on the Widow finding a huge amount of value. Surely you got to force Graffin to swap off onto that one because he cannot and will not outrange the Widowmaker.
Absolutely not, but it seems like he's gonna try it, I guess. And maybe you go onto the McCree to deal with the Sombra, but then again, who's dealing with the Widowmaker? And let's face it, Little Flame, we're seeing it now. He can click a head or two, and he's getting a ton of value out of that. He's gonna have Infrasight any second now, and Sheer Cold painfully behind on the ult economy.
Oh, nice knock up there from Knason. Brings Little Flame's crosshair right into the line of fire of the tanks as they come through. There's the first pick on the way in. The dive's going to come through from Crocs as the chase is on. Nice flashbang there. Stops the power driver connecting, but now off the table to stop the minefields coming out. And this is brave from Shade and Alex, but they've now got to run away from the minefield and into the waiting crosshairs of the rest of Angry Titans. Oh,
what a pick!
Graythan, how did he even know that Little Flame was going to be there? That was phenomenal. It's the High Noon on board, looking for those skulls.
Oh,
will find Crocs even as that comes online with the Primal Rage. Another EMP out from Vizility. Sound Barrier, Coalescence out here as well from the Angry Titans. But it's not going to be enough because they've now got to deal with the Dragon Blade and the constant pressure from the lineup that Sheer Cold are running. And I think that was a misplay all the way from the get-go from Angry Titans.
I mean, we doubted the McCree, but it worked. And I think the one thing we doubted that we turned out being right about was that Sombra. I think that should have been swapped off right off the back, right out the gate. And now as we move over onto Vizility not going to be making that same mistake. He's going to be coming out on the Genji this time. And it looks like we're looking down the barrel of some mirror compositions here. We got the double shield, the Orisa, the Sigma, and Backbone again on that Symmetra. I nearly said Sombra. Oh, there we go. So it is to TP out of spawn because Refid swapping onto the Brigitte in place of the Lucio.
So this is going to see Angry Titans in a position here where they've got that little bit more presence on the point slightly before Sheer Cold, and they're going to be able to take up a defensive position. In fact, you can see the silhouettes there rotating through to take up the opposite hold here under the Lighthouse. Starboy can't make the rotation quick enough, and now it's a 5v6 in favor of Sheer Cold. And they're looking now to close the distance here. No real need for them to push in just yet. TNT's going to come in and find Vizility. Rock from Alex going to do for him on that one. Nice coach going out of the way from Graythan. Stops that environmental kill coming through. And that's the cap there for Sheer Cold in charge of the points.
A nice, strong, and solid first point capture here. They're performing exceptionally well. Now, they didn't have the speed boost to help them, but we are going to see Starboy swapping over onto a Brigitte of his own. The Brigitte just gives so much utility. And again, there weren't really any defensive ultimates to help deal with that Genji. The lamp is just not enough. So once that blade is online, they're going to want to try and use the rally to help deal with that. Of course, Starboy got a little bit further to go than Refid does here in the ult economy.
Yeah, starting a little ways behind on that one. The big difference to make here is Vizility is much closer to that blade despite having lost that first fight. And that's going to be online in the next few seconds. Doggo also closing in on the amplification matrix. Little Flame gets the opening pick here. Shade is gone. One less shield to hide behind. Little Flame gets the bob off, but Starboy knocks them for 6 and into the pit. This is looking really good for a retake here from Angry Titans. And they've not even had to throw that much into this. They're still even holding on to the amplification matrix.
I mean, just looking at the ult charge of Vizility and Doggo, that says a lot. Despite winning that fight, you can see the amount of work they're putting into each fight. The added healing from Doggo, the crazy damage coming out from Vizility here. And once you pair that in a more favorable rotation and a more favorable standpoint, and you start to get the value out of those abilities, you have what we just saw, a very clean fight with basically no ultimates used. Now, Sheer Cold with almost 5 ultimates online, they're going to need to make something happen.
Supercharger out from Lusa early. No kills through it just yet, but buys a lot of damage. Now Facility's looking to punch back here with the blade. It only finds 2, and now it's Backbone's turn to open up on Angry Titans, turn them upside down, and smash the lower end to see what comes out.
That seemed like a massive overcommitment on both sides. We saw the Immortality field come out in response to Facility's blade, and it actually did quite a bit. He did manage to take down Lucer, but that was all he managed to accomplish, and in that time, the rest of his team went down. Again, a lot of ultimates used in that last fight, and we are going to see Gravitic Flux versus Bob and Damage Amplification Matrix. Is the Flux going to be enough? There isn't really anything to help with that.
Nice Halt Gravitic Flux combo, and Alex gets right out of the way. Takes up the flank angle here. Can't burst down the Immortality field, but can do enough damage to stave off the recontest from Angry Titans. It's now at 99%. If Angry Titans can't, they retake. I was going to say if they can't retake, that is it, but somehow they manage enough point presence to flip it back over. But now they've got to turn this into a fight win, and it just ain't happening for him. Kill after kill after kill here for Sheer Cold. We're looking at a very quick recap here, and we're going to see it go 2-0 in favor of Sheer Cold.
And this is what I was saying about Alex. He is a phenomenal off-tank player, and seeing him on this Sigma, just more proof. You know, we saw it in that one fight. He uses the Gravitic Flux, uses the momentum, or rather the presence of himself elevated up on the ground to take the flank, doing extra damage in the backline. He stays in the backline, manages to save his kinetic grasp until he's just about to, well, die, get back behind into the rest of his team so that he can get some healing up and still provide enough presence to tank some of the damage and make sure that the rest of his team stays alive. He's performing really, really well here. But again, I really need to hand it to the I say duo, but it's Facility and Doggo that have been performing so well, building up those ultimates despite fight losses. They're still able to build up those ultimates really fast and get value out of them. So some star potential on both sides, and I really want to see how this evolves further on. It looks like we've had a substitution though, Phil. I think, yes?
Yeah, that's right. Love coming in for Little Flame on the Angry Titans. Interesting that, all the way through Open Division, Love and Little Flame working together have been a huge, huge part of the success that Angry Titans have had. And I wonder how well they're doing at incorporating Facility into this lineup, because you've now got 2 different DPS pairs to deal with. I feel like that can be really difficult to balance properly in scrims.
I think it can be, yeah. It makes it very difficult to kind of figure out how you're going to play certain things. You kind of always have to be factoring that in. But I'm curious to see how they're going to make this one work. Obviously, whenever you have a sub, you generally, how that works is you have a plan set for that specific person, whether it be because of a specific hero they play or a particular map that they do quite well on, or a combination of the two. There's generally a plan. And as we move over onto Volskaya, I ideally want to know what that plan is. We are going to swap sides as well. So this time around, Angry Titans, I believe they're going to be on the defense starting out. And with Love coming in, I don't know, kind of hoping for a Torb.
So I think I'm right on this one, is that Little Flame and Love used to be sort of Little Flame on the hit scan for Widowmaker, Love on the Genji. And so I'm a little bit confused as to how... No, do you know what? I'm going to go back on that. It was Love on the Widowmaker. Love had some serious pop-off moments in both EBC and in Open Division. So I wonder if this means we're going to see them move more specifically onto a long-range hit scan look here, alongside Genji from Facility, possibly?
It seems likely. I mean, if I... pardon me. If I look at the... information that we get from the teams about the specific heroes they like to play, the two of them have a very similar hero pool. They both list the Widowmaker, but then Little Flame, he's got the Ashe, he's got Tracer, so there's a little bit more flexibility there. So I think you're absolutely right. We could be seeing a Widowmaker scenario here on Volskaya, and I think that works out really well. Again, something that I mentioned in the previous series is how you have those two high grounds to work with. You create a little bit of a crossfire, and it forces the enemy team to kind of have to split up and find a way to deal. You either have to split your team comp and try and find value out of that, or you need to dive one side but risk exposure from the other. And that that in itself, kind of forcing that out of an enemy team, that's probably what they're looking for here. And as I see, they start to set up. Looks like they might be holding on the high ground. Yeah, we got the 2 tanks going up onto the back right-hand side. And of course, we're going to see Love on the left-hand side high ground, creating that crossfire. And Vizility is just going to be irritating the back line, as is his duty as a Genji.
Yeah, looks like we're going to see an early TP up onto the high ground to buy some early positioning for the team, and specifically for Grathan to get up there and maybe find an angle through. Some early scouting here. Looking at the angle that the bullets are coming through there, yeah, the guess was there. Initially, the guess was on the low ground for the hold here, but up on the high ground, and now Grathan starting to go to work here, but Love now rotates back onto the far side here. Mine's going to be there to catch anybody coming through. Sees it gets destroyed, knows there's somebody over there. And no push through coming in just yet from Sheer Cold. Ooh. There we go. Now starting to move into the points. A great play from Angry Titans here. They're going to play around that mini health pack. And this is a great way to just stall out this fight for a very, very long time using this defensive bunker setup with a double shield. Sheer Cold are going to have a hard time closing in. Big hole, but there's no connect. Vizility's going to find Lucer, and that's a good opening. But there's not enough confidence here for Angry Titans to push out and generate more ult charge on the back of that one. Oh, and Vizility overstays his welcome, gets picked out of that one.
That was such a great halt followed by an accretion, but the Genji dash just wasn't able to get the full value. But as you said, got the pick onto Lucer, which forces Sheer Cold to have to pull back. They don't have to wait too long though. Lucer is back and they're going for the recontest here, and he's very close to the amplification matrix.
In aggressively from Shade, but has to use the Fortify, and now they're in line of fire of the amplification matrix. On the rock and the immortality field, and all you can do now if you are Sheer Cold is run your little wakes away as fast as they can, because you don't want to be in line of fire of that double damage. But now they've got one of their own.
Oh my goodness.
And Angry Titans, they are closed up in the line of fire of that. Vizility gets out of it, brings out the sword and finds Graphic, but so far this is just a 1-for-1 trade. We'll find the second as Shade goes down. There's the numbers advantage, and it may have taken them a little while to get this up and running, but the Angry Titans look like they've managed to stabilize.
Despite... well, okay, so normally what happens is one team throws in a ton of ultimates. The second team, if they survive, then follow up with a ton of ultimates of their own and win the fight. And we saw like a mini version of that. We saw Angry Titans throw in quite a few abilities, and they threw in the amplification matrix as well. And then it was followed up by Sheer Cold and some of their abilities, but Sheer Cold weren't able to convert it into a fight win. Both teams, however, managed to hold on to a few of their ultimates here. So now coming into this next fight, this is where it could turn into a mess. This is where it becomes a bit of a Q fest, and we see which team can press Q harder.
They're going to be looking at Backbone here to really crack this wide open. Maybe use the Gravitic Flux to flush.
There it is.
They don't need to. As with one swipe, he cuts right through both supports here for Titans. Finds Knason as well. And for good measure, up into the face of Love. Pushes them out into the open. And that is going to be the cap on point A.
And the entirety of Angry Titans were in that little tub of ice cream there on point, and they just needed a nice hot knife to get all that ice cream out, and that's exactly what Backbone was.
You eating ice cream with a knife?
Yes.
Ah.
Geo eats it with a fork, and you're going to judge me for a knife. Come on.
I'm all over judging Geo. You see the picture of how she eats a Kit Kat. Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, I saw that. That was terrifying. Anyway, great work there from Backbone. Fantastic ultimate to crack open that point. And with a nice solid 3.5-minute time bank here to push, and no real ultimates available for Angry Titans, and an early pickoff, Sheer Cold looking good.
Great early pick. You can see a Sheer Cold start to press the advantage, but they press the advantage into the line of fire of the amplification matrix, which means they can't fully invest in getting this done. This is respawns coming through now for Angry Titans. Love coming back in on the Doomfist, and this is starting to look like it's all falling apart here as Sheer Cold have the position on the point and they've got the rally rolling. Love's able to find Backbone, which is a nice start, but hasn't got enough presence here with the rest of the team to keep this fight going. And the half point already given over now to Sheer Cold as they come through. Here's Vizility with the blade once more, slicing into immortality field, and that ain't gonna bring you nothing at all. Sheer Cold solidifying now onto the point. Grafton with a 2 from the Bob. Love looking to tag in here to keep it going at the last second, but A
Ooh.
Doomfist is a very vulnerable target here. And this is done now. They are just trying to stall out as much time as they can. There's no fight left.
I mean, stalling out time is a pretty solid strategy, but that's about as much as they could do. 2 minutes 16 seconds. Not a bad hold from Angry Titans, but such a strong offense. It took some time for Sheer Cold to get that first point, but the snowball they had running with them onto the second point and the nice early pick off there as they touched point the very first time. As I said, snowball. That's effectively what it is. And they managed to very quickly and easily and quite efficiently cap that second point. Now, they have netted themselves a fairly good time bank here. And, of course, now is where they need to really dig their heels in on this defense and, set a tone. Well, they've set a tone for themselves, I suppose. They've set themselves a goal. They need to ensure that Angry Titans either cannot cap second or they're going for an overtime. They want to try and stall it out, barring the ability to full hold on first point. They're going to be trying to get it into overtime so that Angry Titans won't get a second push. These are all the little nuanced things that teams think about, aside from just, we need to not let them get out of spawn.
We need to get more kills from them. That's most teams, yeah.
Just click their heads harder and then we'll win. And I think this is a solid defense. Again, similar to what we saw Angry Titans roll out with on the defense here, but they're going to be running Grathan on the Ashe, no Widowmaker to speak of. And aside from that, it's basically the same thing. The offense, once again, mirror compositions coming out here. And I'm very excited to see the matchup between Love and Grathan and how they're going to be trying to keep the other occupied while the rest of their team tries to get something done.
I immediately prefer the Ashe on the defense here. You lose the pick potential, but you get a lot more utility out of this pick. Low ground hold here for Sheer Cold. TNT in at the top. Beautiful combo there with the halt and Visibility reduced to ashes without the tip of the spear there of the Genji. They're going to have to back out and reset. Sheer Cold, they don't want to give them too much space. They want to get in and generate ult charge. This is aggressive.
I wasn't sure about the low ground hold from Grathan, but the ability to use the coach gun, get onto the high ground, and I mean, he actually managed to dink someone as well while he was up in the sky. So it worked out really well for him. He wasn't able to get the kill, but despite being on the low ground, it wasn't as much of a detriment as I had initially thought it might be. He's managing to use his utility to get tons of value. These hold accretions are disgusting, Phil.
Man, Nason nearly goes all the way down to that one, and look at the ults already online for Sheer Cold. Angry Titans scrabbling for purchase here. Backbone sees them in the midst of the tiny room. That's right, everybody. Everybody's favorite workshop mode, Tiny Overwatch, alive and well in Contenders trials as Backbone slices through Angry Titans.
Once again, a phenomenal ultimate from Backbone after having Angry Titans forced into a very small area. And despite the fact that the immortality field came out, it got destroyed fairly quickly. So Backbone was still able to get, 3 or 4 picks in that fight, and the rest of his team were there to help with cleanup. Fantastic work. And they only used 1 ultimate really to make it happen. They've still got close to 5 ultimates online here. AT looking very much on the back foot coming into this next fight. They will, however, have a rally fairly soon, as well as a blade, and they're going to really need that if they're going to want to try and make a dent in this.
Amplification matrix, halt, shields there to stop the follow-up damage. Everybody up to the answering halt there coming out from Croaks. And this is kind of low ground footsie here. Both teams trapped in the hallway, stepping to the side, trying to predict where the opponent is going to go. Grathan has the bob ready to go, but it's Facility that pulls out the Q button first, swinging away with the sword, but swinging away into the immortality field. He gets stunned out. He doesn't find picks out of this one. Bob is now on the field from Love, but Love themselves is going to go down. Sheer Cold holding out here as the Baptistes begin to frag. But Angry Titans, they've got some presence on the point, but it's now reduced just to Crocs and to Doggo. And we're now getting close to the 1 minute mark here for the Angry Titans offense.
And this is what makes Baptiste so incredibly terrifying. He's Soldier, but better. And we see both Baptiste absolutely frag out here. And do that all the while keeping the rest of the team alive, whether it be through the immortality field or just through the healing bombs that he outputs. He just does so much work. And now Angry Titans, with less than a minute to go, they only have a gravitic flux available to them. They're running into yet another blade from Backbone after Vasility's blade does not get the value they wanted.
Or Backbone, the backbreaker, having his own back broken this time, lifted up into the air. Not able to find too much value with the blade that time. Starboy starting to frag out here as well. We'll find one. Vasility's going to go down. This is incredibly back and forth in the final 30 seconds. Angry Titans finally with an advantage going their way. Coming into point B, they're going to be down in time ban compared to Sheer Cold, but they're not out of the fight yet, Nauri.
They managed to do a lot better this time around. Once the blade came out from Backbone, they weren't so tightly closed together, and they were a little bit more split up, which means that Backbone wasn't able to get the same kind of value. And once the rest of Sheer Cold were down, they could focus everything they had into just getting him down, because he was last man standing. Get him down, get him off the point, get that point presence ticking over in your favor. Now they have 3 minutes. If they can mount the most solid offense we've ever seen, maybe they match time. It's unlikely. Now Sheer Cold are really looking to try and get this done, get this held in the overtime to ensure that AT do not have a second attack.
Oh man, Croc's caught out on the way in, and Alex them all up with the gravitic flux. This is not looking good for this offensive push through from the Angry Titans. Sheer Cold were ready. They were lying in wait. And amazingly, Angry Titans decide they're not out of this fight. Facility, the blade will get the double here, but the respawns are going to be so quick for Sheer Cold that they are almost certainly gonna wish they had those DPS ults back for the next fight.
Oh, Alex, no.
Oh, 8 health in a dream.
Dude, he manages to get the shield back up just in time. The kinetic grasp ran out, and oh my goodness, that was dangerous. But yes, once again, spawn advantage working in favor of the defenders. Who would have thought? And Sheer Cold managed to mount a fantastic defense here and hold on to a bunch of their ultimates in the process. They still have 3 left. They're going to have Backbone with that blade, and we know how dangerous that can be. Angry Titans coming into this will have the gravitic flux. Not too much else. Close to a supercharger, though. It might be enough to crack a hole in this defense.
I would not want to be Angry Titans here. The flux and the supercharger, probably not enough to crack this, because we've got the answering supercharger, and Sheer Cold are actually playing incredibly split here. The gravitic flux is only going to find one. Backbone spots his moment to go in, finds Doggo, only needed the 1 kill to really round out that fight, and we're back at the minute mark here for Angry Titans. And honestly, how do you crack this in a minute with what you've got on board?
The answer is either you don't, or some serious Hail Marys. You got to really hope that you do not misplay, and that your enemy team makes a mistake that you can take advantage of. Because as you say, coming into this, still got the flux and the supercharger. Doggo's going to have the amplification matrix fairly soon, which could do quite a lot. Visibility somewhat close to a blade, but they're running into a Bob and an amplification matrix from Sheer Cold as well. It's a lot to try and defend with, and I'm not too sure that Angry Titans are going to be able to crack this one.
Well, if they're going to try, they've got to try soon. We've got 22 seconds on the clock and a lot of ground to cover and a lot of spam damage on the way in. That's how you start things off here. Lobi is able to find Backbone, takes him out of the fight, takes the immortality field down as well. Facility has generated a blade in this time and is ready to come back in with it. He's low, he's taking burn damage, he's stunned, but he's still finding swings. He's going to go down to it in the end, and there's no touch. One last attempt at a push.
I mean, they were hoping that Sheer Cold would make a mistake, and Sheer Cold just didn't. And it's something that I said, when we started out this series. Sheer Cold, a fantastically strong team. Yes, Angry Titans have a lot of veterans behind them, but the new up-and-coming talent are just proving themselves time and time again. They are a force to be reckoned with. And I gotta say, the way that they're able to play together, the way that they're able to support each other and keep each other alive, the Holt accretions from Sheer Cold were, I said it, disgusting. Shade and Alex work so well together to get those off. And then, of course, you mentioned in the previous series, and we're seeing it now, finally, the Halt and the dash from the Genji as well, helping to build up that ult charge incredibly quickly. Just the team play from Sheercold has been unmatched. Angry Titans, yes, they are a force to be reckoned with in their own right, but I think having just brought on a brand new player, maybe that's causing a little bit of a lack of synergy. Maybe not a lack, but just it's a little bit of a thorn in the side, right? You're trying to...
synergy is less well practiced.
Exactly, that's the word. Thank you. And I think it does come through somewhat. And don't get me wrong, Visility, he's known as a phenomenal DPS player, and we saw it with some of his blades that just got ridiculous amounts of value, how quickly he's able to build up those ultimates. He is a fantastic player, but it's those small things. When you're at this level of play, it's more than just about your pop-off potential. It's how well you're doing as a team. And let's face it, tonight Sheercold have just been, so far, the better team. But the night's not over. Angry Titans still definitely have a chance to turn this one around. Maybe we'll see the reverse sweep.
Maybe, because if you are Angry Titans here, you are staring down the barrel of a 3-0 defeat. And given how close these brackets can be at the end of the week for Contenders Trials, you don't want a 3-0 on your record, because it's almost certainly going to come down to map differential. So having that -3 against your name, second day of play, makes it very, very difficult to drag your way back up into that number 1 or number 2 slot to get back up into Contenders, which is obviously what Angry Titans want here. And I was looking at this going, well, you know, Angry Titans, Sheercold, this should be a close one. If we don't see Angry Titans make the reverse sweep here, I've got to go back and I've got to rejig a bunch of stuff in articles about how I think this matchup is going to go.
Well, we are going to be moving on to the third map, and it is going to be our hybrid. It's Hollywood once again. We've seen a little bit of Hollywood earlier on this evening, and of course, because these maps are preset, we are going to see just that little bit more of it. And I'm curious to see if we're going to be seeing more of the same compositions here, because both teams have had near mirror matchups on both maps that we've seen, and it has been kind of the Orisa Sigma vibe with the Genji, and then, you know, Widowmaker or Ashe, depending on, well, a lot of things, depending on sightlines, depending on where you are in the map, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, etc., etc. So I think we're very likely to see the same kind of composition out of them. It is more or less where the meta is leaning at the moment. But I'm also kind of hoping for something just a little bit more creative here. There are so many other ways to play, particularly Hollywood. There's a lot of potential for dive. We saw that earlier this evening with Shoes Money Crew. It worked out pretty well for them up to a point. And I think that we might possibly see some variation, hopefully.
Possibly, but I think the thing to consider with what we saw coming out from Shoes Money Crew is they had a different challenge entirely to what Angry Titans and Sheercold are doing here, because there was never any risk that Avoided were going to be coming out with the meta composition. Here for Angry Titans and Sheercold, it is a big, big gamble to move away from the double shield Genji poke. You know, you can try and run some. We've seen a lot, particularly in the APAC region, of the Winston Winston Zarya dive style. Yeah. But like the synergy is so much harder to make it work. The ultimates that you get out of it are maybe less impactful and combinable. I really don't know why either of these teams would move away from having that double poke, unless. And like the first run through is such a phenomenal defeat for either team that they've got to swap to try something else. I don't know why you'd make that sacrifice. Yeah,
you do make a solid point, and this is something we spoke about a little bit earlier in the previous series, in that Metacomp is Metacomp for a reason, right? Yeah. It's the one that tends to get you the most results, the higher number of times. And that is why the double shield it's just been working out phenomenally. And I think given the synergy between, particularly, I did highlight this at the end of the last map, the synergy between the Sheercold tank, Shade, and Alex, and how well they've been working together. We could probably see it come through on a different composition, but I would say that Alex might be one of the best Sigmas in the region.
Wow. Bold.
It's bold words, but I'm going to stick with it. And yep, unfortunately for me, it does look like we are going to be running with the same compositions we saw a little bit earlier on. Not sure if that Mercy is going to stick. Backbone definitely just on the Symmetra to get them out of spawn, because they don't have a Lucio. the map might stick because they have Grathan on the Ashe, and the damage boost can be really, really devastating. But I think it's more likely that they will swap that over onto the Brigitte, because it's just a little bit more sustained, a little bit more brawly, and of course the rally is just worth so much more than a Valkyrie. Yep, there we go. Swapping back over onto that Brigitte.
It is, and I don't even really see the point of the teleporter here as well. It buys you a little bit of time, but not enough to really make it worthwhile. I think we're going to see it swap fairly quickly. Yeah, back onto the Genji, but you've got to wait for the Genji to come back. So what have you gained here, really?
Space, I guess.
Space is important. I'll give you that one. We'll see that just the sheer pressure here from Sheer Cold has already forced Angry Titans into a low ground defense. They gave that up really, really quickly. They gave that up like it was going out of style. See them backing up already. Sheer Cold not pressing the advantage just yet. Expect them to round the corner once they got some cooldowns back. Backbone into the back. Wants to get a pick. Can't find it, but it has now 50% of the ultimate ready to go. This is not looking great for the Angry Titans. They've given up so much space.
I mean, it really is free real estate at this point, and we've had some fantastic halts here coming through once again from Shade. The rest of the team really utilizing them to get tons and tons of ult charge here. Sheer Cold are on the point, and it's just AT are just nowhere.
The one thing that this has given them is that Doggo's been able to generate her amplification matrix, and it buys them a momentary reprieve. But they're going to be back incredibly quickly. Oh, that's great. Backbone. The Holt, the Rock, the dash through, the Backbone sent back to spawn. But Sheer Cold, they're not dissuaded here. They get the answering pick, and they get 2 ticks basically for free. But there is a little flame to worry about. Away in the back with a big TNT. Landed on 4 remaining members. Drops to the lower ground and looks to keep the fight going. We're going to see the Gravitic Flux come out for the Bob, and here's Backbone in the back line with the blade. It's the dash reset, deals with a little flame, and that was played absolutely perfectly by Sheer Cold.
Played perfectly by Sheer Cold, but definitely some misplays from Angry Titans there. They gave up so much space, and yes, as you said, it gave them time for Doggo to build up her amplification matrix, but was it worth it? Yes, it forced Sheer Cold back a bit, and they did send Little Flame on an epic flank, and they got a little bit of value out of that as well. But Sheer Cold's aggression, by the time, Little Flame had gotten that value, there was some ultimates built up for Sheer Cold. They used... Okay, Little Flame is dunking on Grathan.
Yeah, this has been a pretty good showing from Little Flame. I think a little bit earlier on that rotation to take the flank on the defense would have been a little bit better for them, but now that he's got the high ground, he can exhibit a huge amount of pressure and control here. But they're not doing much to stop the cart getting in, and now they've got to deal with the additional damage of the supercharger, but it's going to be Facility in with the bomb barrel blade, looking for the quad.
Missed.
Oh, that was great. Backbone's going to get Little Flame, but it doesn't matter because Facility took the can opener to Sheer Cold.
My favorite part of that whole thing was that we saw the accretion come flying from Alex, and it missed. It didn't hit Facility, and he was able to just continue his reign of terror. And they do finally manage to stop this attack in its tracks. We do need to be aware, though, because Sheer Cold do have a Bob available and a rally. So that's a lot to work with on the attack.
I have questions about what Backbone was doing so far towards the enemy spawn. Great placement of the amplification matrix. His best. He's trying, that's the main thing. Rally in for Rally. Flux in as well. Coming out from Gnazen. It's going to be Grathan that gets the pick here. Little Flame down. They're back away from the point for now. They're going to send Bob in to provide additional angles of threat and of pressure and to work down some of the double shield capacity here from the Angry Titans. Backbone is in over the top. He's not at full health, but he sees them all grouped up in that itty-bitty space where the sword covers the entirety of Angry Titans, and he wins that team fight for them.
Sheer Cold is so good at doing this. They corral Angry Titans into a tiny room, and then Backbone just unleashes hell upon them. And it works so well every time. And you'd think that Angry Titans would just find a way to not have to be corralled. I think maybe they need to stop utilizing their abilities so freely, because generally what happens is you move into a smaller space because you've used most of your utility. And so you need to kind of mount somewhat of a retreat so that you can get get your cooldowns back. And so they're being forced into these positions, and then Backbone just pops off. And again, Starboy never has the ultimate ready to deal with the blade.
It's a very unfortunate situation. You need that rally to really round out some of these team fights and help keep in them that little bit longer. We are going to see Little Flame throw in the bomb, but doesn't find a huge amount of value. Flux as an answer back here from Alex. Again, not finding too much. Visibility falls low. He's able to get to safety. Sheer Cold now swarming back towards the cart, and it's Matrix for Amp Matrix. The double deadly squares of death. No kills out of either just now. Here's the bomb coming up from Grafton as well as Backbone takes Crocs out of the equation. And now there are no tanks available here for Angry Titans as the payload rounds that final corner. You can hear the engine revving as it sees its destination in sight.
But there's still a bit of utility here for Angry Titans to try and stall this out. They do have 3 ultimates. They're going to start with that rally and hopefully stop this attack in its tracks.
Starboy with the rally. Visibility with the sickest blade I've seen in some time. Didn't even finish the voice line. And the supercharger is doing all of the work in the world here for Sheer Cold. And this is quite the time bank for Hollywood.
That was super depressing to see Facility dive straight into the backline and just get absolutely decimated amidst his ultimate. Sheer Cold, as you said, 2 minutes 13. Now, I think Angry Titans still did a very good job of whittling away that time bank to an extent. I mean, this could have been a lot worse than what it is right now, but it's still not ideal. So they're going to need to mount quite a strong attack if they want to match or, dare I say it, better this time bank. Sheer Cold have really proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with here, and Angry Titans kind of need to step it up a bit.
As a caster, you kind of want to be a cheerleader for both teams. You don't want to say, "Oh well, this team dumpstered the other team," because it's these guys are trying the hardest. You've got to reward that effort. But Angry Titans have just looked about 10% lacking for every parameter that Sheer Cold are bringing to the table. They've got to start fiddling with some dials here, because if they don't, they're at the risk of dropping that 3-0 scoreline against them and probably scuppering the chances of making it back to Contenders.
And that's the thing, though. I don't believe that the issue lies in any one player on Angry Titans. I mean, I've said it. These guys have been phenomenal. Little Flame and Facility, a DPS force. They're incredible. Doggo has been a shining star in the support lineup here. Starboy also been doing fantastic work. The tank line duo has been... The Holt accretions have also been really, really good here. It's just the small minutiae, the macro play between the players that needs to kind of be tuned up a bit.
I'm going to see Sheer Cold not even really bother holding the high ground here, going for that same low round hold.
Oopsie.
Who even... How did Backbone find that? Wherever he found it, he overstayed his welcome because Little Flame punishes him, and now it's 5v5. Backbone should be back fairly quickly, but they need to be careful not to lose too many more members here. They're going to retreat back into the safety of Cafe for now, but they need to keep tagging out here. They've got to keep this point contested or give over a lot of charge. This is great aggression from Angry Titans, living up to the emotion in their name here, buckling up Sheer Cold, not letting them get into contest. They secure 2 ticks here. It's down to Grafton to tag back in and keep this going that little bit longer. Fine, Starboy, but that is gonna be it. Angry Titans on a tear through here. Oh no, they're not out of it. Backbone with a blade, 6 HP. He finds Doggo. He buys a stay of execution for Alex. But that's going to be 5 minutes and more as we're rolling to point B for 80.
I'm not sure how I feel about that blade. I suppose they were trying to buy some time there, but did Backbone really think he was going to get like a 4K and stall out the point? A fantastic performance from Angry Titans there. I was a little bit worried. Grafton got a 2K up on the high ground, and I was like, but AT, you're just ignoring him. You're pretending he doesn't exist, that he's killing your team. But it worked out because they still had point presence and Sheer Cold didn't, and that's all they needed. They just needed bodies on the point, and they were able to win that out and get that payload moving once again. And now they're going to be coming into this next fight with the Gravitic Flux and the Supercharger.
Well, in fact, I believe both of those stacked atop each other. no either one of them finding a lot of value on this one. Grafton's going to get the opening pick of this hold, and between the amplification matrix and the Bob on the field, sheer cold, they're back in the freezer looking frosty in control of the payload.
Once again, Angry Titans, teeny tiny room, getting smushed. Name a more iconic trio. It's working out really well here for Sheer Cold.
Honestly.
Yeah, it took me a second. I had to think about that. But it worked. Yep, still got some ultimates here. All Angry Titans really used in that last fight was the Gravitic Flux. They're still going to have the Supercharger and, well, I mean, they're going to have just about everything in a second. So looking good here, but they need to make sure that they're getting the value out of these ultimates and not just tossing them.
Says a lot about the change in play styles here between these two teams is that Shade is the more aggressive here with the use of the Supercharger. Backbone, I'm surprised, hasn't capitalized on seeing how many people are at low health. Again, cramming themselves into a tiny space down below Backbone. That could have gone so much worse for them.
I'm amazed they managed to survive. That dynamite got so much value, but as you said, no one really wanted to go in and actually make something happen. And that's good news for Angry Titans. They were able to pull back after losing only one. It was Starboy. They managed to pull back. They are now together as a team. 5 ultimates. Gonna rally that out.
Oh, everything coming in here. In fact, lots coming in by Sheer Cold, and the blade already finds Little Flame. They've been so good from Backbone. Backbone has been an absolute monster on this pick.
And that's what I was kind of talking about at the top of the series, you know? We joked about how he was the backbone of Sheer Cold, and he's just doing so much work here, but you cannot discount how much his team is doing to enable him. Sheer Cold, a monstrous force here. Angry Titans, a lot of ultimates used in that last fight. They even had the rally for the blade, but just the sheer amount of damage coming through from everyone on Sheer Cold was not enough to keep them afloat. They do still have a Bob and an amplification matrix, and Gravitic Flux soon. Hopefully it'll be enough.
Oh, this is great positioning from Lucer and Grafton. With that amplification matrix in play, the damage they can pour out here is immense. And it forces Angry Titans to waste more time making a rotation away from the damage and just being slowed down again and again and again. And the Fox once more online. Alex is only going to find visibility, but it's going to be enough here to get things going. Little Flame throws in the Bob here as well, but I don't know if I agree with that. It was a lost fight already.
I mean, that's kind of been a running theme here, I must be honest. AT have been kind of overutilizing some of their ultimates here and there, and it has definitely, I wouldn't say it's cost them fights, because generally, I suppose if you think more long term, you know, you don't have that ultimate available for the next one, so it may have indirectly cost you that fight. And I think that that's one of those things that just kind of needs to be fine-tuned, how you're communicating whether a fight is lost or not, and if you should really be committing ultimates into it, because now they have nothing coming into this next fight, and they're running into, yes, another Backbone blade.
They've got to be careful because their pathing option to avoid the spam damage coming through sends them routinely through these small enclosed spaces, and Backbone is going to be looking for you. Sees them, sees the immortality field up, it goes down. Backbone's gonna fall, but the damage has been done. The blade was blunted, but the bones are broken, and Sheer Cold holding on. And Angry Titans, they've now got less than a minute to avoid getting 3-0'd.
This just shows you how dangerous that dynamite is, because if you get really low, generally you might have an opportunity to get out, but if you're on fire, even if you run away from the direct line of fire, that little bit of burn damage, it's gonna finish you off. And that's exactly what we saw in that last fight there. They just weren't able to escape. Visibility very close to a blade. It's gonna be a Hail Mary if he can survive.
98% and routinely chunked down here. Even if he pulls out the blade, there's going to be the Bob to pressure him down through it. They're pre-stacking the rally armor here. Starboy's rally is now done and dusted. And I think what we're seeing here from Sheer Cold is patience. They want this rally to tick out of the way so that Facility doesn't have that oppressive survivability. And he might not need it. He doesn't have oppressive survivability. He's got oppressive firepower, getting the 3K, ringing the team kill bell, and keeping Angry Titans in the fight.
That was the Hail Mary, and it did succeed, but is it enough to get to second point? Sheer Cold don't have any ultimates to work with here, but they have a ton of utility, and that Flux is damn near online. And if they can just pull everybody off of... they weren't able to touch point. I think that they made a very calculated decision here not to recontest it. A minute and a half to stall out this payload and stop it from getting third point. Pretty well played from Alex to save that flux.
But coming into this, they're already over a minute down in time bank before the payload even really gets rolling. We're looking at this being an overtime cap unless there is some phenomenal value out of Doggo's amplification matrix and Knassen's gravitic flux.
There
Alex
it
is
is.
going to start things off here, but the flux is whiffed. Everybody makes themselves scarce, and gravity returns to a semblance of normalcy. But in the confusion, Grafton's able to get the double here, and now we're down below a minute. And for Angry Titans to push through here, they're going to have to push in to get another Backbone Blade.
Grathan and Backbone are a terrifying duo, particularly with Grathan on this Ashe. Honestly, it is... Oh my goodness. I would hate to come up against this, is all I'm saying. But now Angry Titans coming into this next fight. Less than 30 seconds to try and make something happen here. Gravitic Flux online. There's the Backblade.
Flux thrown in to try and counter the blade, but Backbone, he dodges with the Swift Strike, and he gets out, and he's able to find 2 picks. We're at the 10-second mark. This is an overtime cap, even if miraculously Angry Titans can get back into this. Right now, though, it's Knesset on the point. We're going to see the recontest looking to come through here from Facility, but he's alone on the point. He's focused down. Fox trickles back in to keep it going, but he gets run over. And this has been a phenomenal series from Sheercode, cementing themselves at the top of the group.
Honestly, I was expecting this in terms of just how... I don't know, these two teams like a clash of titans, and it felt like it could have really gone the distance, but Sheercode have just been so good at digging their heels in, and I somewhat expected Angry Titans to be able to put up a bigger fight, but I think that given that Sheercode is the team that recently beat British Hurricane, I must say Angry Titans really did a spectacular job in this series, and I think with just a little bit more time together, a little bit more practice, these star veteran players are very easily going to become, once again, because Angry Titans have always been a top team, and they're just going to be able to like grab that title back with both hands and, you know, just climb their way back up to the top.
You kind of got to feel a bit for Angry Titans because they are such a storied team, you know, really in at the ground floor for Overwatch, and they just in the past couple of seasons haven't been able to keep up with the competition, and so they've gone from Contenders into Trials into Open Division. They're now back into Contenders Trials, but after that 3-0, I've got some real questions about whether or not they're ready for Contenders.
Well, I suppose you say that, but you also have to look at all the other teams that are in trials at the moment. And I said it at the top of the series, and I'll say it again. I believe that Sheercode and Angry Titans are probably two of the top teams in the entire trials run through, not just in their groups. So despite, and again, I think that Sheercode would be the top team in trials, and then I think that, you know, Angry Titans would be right behind. So it might be a little too early to be calling that one just yet, Phil.
One thing we can call is that we've got Grathan joining us for his post-match interview. Grathan, congratulations on the win. How are you feeling?
Thank you. We're feeling pretty good. We're happy with the win. We've been in a bit of a slump these past few weeks, and we're starting to get our footing back, so we're happy with results so far.
So
You're very scary.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal to watch you play and just kind of pick apart Angry Titans a little bit.
Yeah.
So one thing, you said you've been in a slump recently. You're looking to turn things around now. It was a very good showing in EBC over the weekend, and now a 3-0 over a team that were looking to be one of the scariest teams in the group. What's changed for you over the past couple of weeks?
We've been more like confident and disciplined in our play. We're not letting ourselves like do dumb stuff that ruins our games. Like a lot of the time we've lost like maps in the past to choking and, you know, making unfortunate plays. Like in the past, EXO in Contenders last season, we choked like a 5 minutes cap or something, Yab game. So like really we've just been working on, you know, playing discipline, playing our game, making sure we don't mess up, easy wins, and it's been going good so far. I think for the future we'll be okay.
Yeah,
So-
the mental game plays a massive part in this. The mental fortitude to the ability to keep going despite possibly tilting if you lose a map or two or whatever. So it's good that you're focusing not just on individual play style and teamwork, but also just making sure that you keep that mental high and that you don't kind of boom a little bit later on in the series.
So, Grafton, with Angry Titans now behind you, you don't have to play them again in Trials and securing a 3-0. Is there really anybody in the group that you're concerned about playing?
No.
Okay.
We were mostly worried about, I mean, not worried, but the only thing we were like slightly concerned about was AT playing Widow and like running Widow comps, because in the past we dropped a map to them playing Widow. And we've learned to play a lot more disciplined against Widows, so it wasn't really a problem on Volskaya. And then in the mirror, like, it was fine. As for other teams, like, there's a lot of just cheesy teams that we're not really worried about. They just play funny Farah comps. Like, those won't be an issue if we
Funny
play a game
Farah
right.
comps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we may drag this interview back up if there is a way for those funny Farah comps to take you to task, but for now it sounds like your confidence is going to carry you quite a long way. So we're looking to round out the broadcast here, Grafton. So before we sign off and before we let you return to your team to celebrate, any words you'd like to leave us with, or anybody you'd like to shout out?
I guess shout out to our coach, David Sirt. He's been extremely helpful and he's improved us a lot in these past few weeks we've had with him. We're very grateful to have him as a coach. So shout out to him.
Can confirm.
Great. Well, Grafton, thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing what you can do in the rest of Contenders Trials.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. For everybody else watching at home, that is, I'm afraid, the end of the broadcast for today from myself and from Nauri. But it's Contenders Trials Week, and we're not at the halfway point just yet. We've got more games coming at you every night this week, so stay tuned to Monkey Bubble on social media for game times and for game layouts. Can't wait to see you over the rest of the week. Good night and take care.